infectious disease facility with $1 million Ghana cedis. Murdered pensioner was biochemist. 17 Burkinabe, 1 Ivorian illegal immigrants arrested. On the front page of the Ghanaian Times, Ghana Traditional Council places ban on drumming, noise making, May 11th. COVID-19 update. Government shows leadership in managing economy. This is coming from the Vice President. Mandatory mask wearing starts tomorrow in Accra to curb spread of COVID-19. On the front page of the Chronicle, go away. Chronicle is not invited. Police sack reporter over money doubling saga. Steel coils increase prices of products despite 90% power subsidy. China must apologize to Africa over inhumane treatment. Okrapim Hima snubs Okrapim Hine's coronation. NCA is failing the surveillance test. On the front page of the New Crusading Guide, we have Bawumia punches Mahama again, charges him to rely on data before delivering speeches. China must apologize for abusing blacks in COVID-19 pandemic. Nana Kwame Bediako. Okwe Jr. fights back, rubbishes Adwoa Safo's allegations. On the front page of the Daily Statesman, stop embarrassing yourself. Bawumia jabs Mahama over uninformed statements on economy. COVID-19, 30 million lose jobs in America. Keeping faith with the people, 10 youth and sports resource centers ready soon. On the front page of the Finder, MPP is better than NDC in managing crisis. This is from Dr. Bawumia. Sukriza makes 3 COVID-19 donations worth 45,000 Ghana cedis. Ghana's confirmed COVID-19 cases hit 2,719 with 294 recoveries. All 7 COVID-19 patients at Kolebu recover discharged. Average standard of living sees no change in 2019. This is from the BNFT, on the front page of the BNFT newspaper. As GDP per capita marginally declines. Access Bank leads the way in COVID-19 fight with webinar series for women. Stimulus package must be used for survival, not expansion. Bankers Association backs infectious disease isolation and treatment center with 2 million Ghana cedis. And Fidelity Bank supports COVID-19 infectious disease center facility. Fidelity Bank supports COVID-19 infectious disease and isolation facility with 1 million Ghana cedis. And finally, on the ABC News, Bawumia hits back at Mahama, says he's the worst crisis manager. Dumso, 250 million Ghana cedis, 5,000 jobs lost to Dumso between 2012 and 2015. 10 billion needed to permanently fix Ghana's perennial flooding problem. This is from Atachia. All right, let's do some online stories now. And on citynewsroom.com, so on citynewsroom.com, we have COVID-19, Ghana's COVID-19 case count now 2,719. It's inhumane to compare Dumso to COVID-19. This is forcing to Baumia. COVID-19, we've not approved any rapid diagnostic test kit yet. This is coming from the FDA. Let your works speak for you, says Ablakwa. Let your works speak for you. All right, and then finally we have COVID-19. All patients at Kolebu Teaching Hospital treated and discharged. And on citybusinessnews.com, Austin Game calls for extended tripartite committee meeting over job losses. Stimulus package won't protect all jobs. This is from Ghana Employers Association. Passion Air to consider government's support to sustain operations. ADB's profit after tax drops by 36% in 2020 first quarter. And finally, we have pensioners to be affected the most by non-payment of dividends. This is from a financial consultant. Then we go to My Joy Online. How two fetish priests murdered and buried a biochemist at their shrine. Unfortunate story there. COVID-related deaths added to GHS figures. This is GMA asking. All right, and then finally we do on BBC.com. On BBC.com we have virus deaths past 250,000 as countries lift curbs. All right, so for more news, go to citynewsroom.com, and for more business news, kindly visit citybusinessnews.com. We're going to have a very interesting conversation this morning. My guests are ready here in studio. I have one seated. I'll be having one joining us by Zoom. We're going to be talking about the case count, and the cases have gone up to 2,719. There's been probably a jump so far since the counts began. 550 cases from the last time, and also 294 recoveries with no further deaths. So the question is, are we panicking or not? Is there a silver lining in all of this? Is there hope at the end of the tunnel? So we will also have a conversation about the face masks, which are going to become mandatory, at least in Accra, come this week. So let's get into that conversation. Let me introduce my guest to you, Ignatius Terence Nubeng. He's the Director of Advocacy and Research at the Africa Center for Health Policy. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you too?
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me just jump right into it right now. The 2,719, what do you make of the numbers so far?
Okay, so a very good morning to all your cherished viewers out there. we have been seeing an increase in our cases over the past, since we started recording cases as far as COVID is concerned in Ghana. But then, in a single day, I think this happens to be the biggest, or the by way of margins.
The largest jump,
Yes, by way of margins, this happens to be the largest. And we should be concerned, but then we should also look at what are the factors that are accounting for the jump.
Tell us what the factors are.
Well, I have questions on my own, which I would like, to be answered for me. For instance, we know that we are having more testing centers now. We should. I coming here, I realized Western Region, the veterinary service lab there is now up and running, and they received their first 80 samples, and so they are also testing. But then, which other facilities are also testing? We should know all these ones, and we should be able to delve into the intricacies of the cases that are coming up as at now, because for the ordinary Ghanaian, 2,719 cases is a lot. Yes, I mean, if you just sit down and you realize to look at the population of Ghana, and we're having over 2,700 cases, we should all be concerned about the cases. But I would also like us to look a bit more about even the mortalities that you are recording. The last time I was here, I was trying to trying to raise some points that we should consider, other persons who are dying in other facilities from other conditions, which we didn't really test for COVID. So we should also be, once these things are all not in place, we're told that about, all the regional hospitals in Ghana are supposed to be testing for COVID in the coming weeks. It's been 2 weeks, past 2 weeks, and I don't see that happening. So if you really want to reach out and then get the people that we need to get out of the population and treat them, then we should be able to, expedite some of these things. Because as at now, I dare to say we don't actually know the prevalence rate or the incidence rate of COVID in Ghana as at now, because the cases keep on changing.
So give me a sense. This 550 additional numbers that have come to add, is it from any kind of backlog, or because what you're suggesting is that we still don't have real-time numbers?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have the real-time numbers as at now, because I don't believe they are really backlogged. When you look at how the testing is done, you would appreciate the fact that each and every day we are testing people, but then we are picking samples every day. But then the samples will not be ready the same day. So definitely, if we are using the argument of backlog, then every single day we are going to have backlog, because every single day we are picking samples and we are testing. But what we should really be looking at as at now is that what is in statistical terms, we can say that maybe the number of cases that we are being recorded in the country are coming from enhanced testing and all that, which is true. Majority of them are coming from the enhanced contact tracing and the testing, other than from the routine surveillance. But that is not the argument. That is not the case here. The case here is that we should be able to expand the testing to as many quarters as possible, so that we can really ascertain the prevalence rate, the real-time prevalence rate of COVID-19 in Ghana. Because as at now, we do not really have the incidence rate of COVID in the country. That is the main issue.
Okay. Let me read a story from citynewsroom.com just to give our viewers a certain perspective. So we have the two stories here. The first one is the Ghana's COVID-19 case count increases to 2,719. Ghana has confirmed 550 new COVID-19 cases. The case count is now 2,719, according to Ghana Health Services' latest update on the country's COVID-19 situation. The update also indicated 65 new recoveries. The regional breakdown is as follows. Greater Accra is at 2,332. Ashanti region has 128. Eastern region has 94. Central region has 38. Volta 30. Oti 23. Western 21, Upper West 19, Upper East 19, Northern Region 13, Western North Region 4, Northeast Region 2, and then the other regions don't have any count. The minister is going to be giving a presser this morning and giving us some updates. What can we expect to hear that will give us, some hope or clarification?
Well, I will be looking forward to they being able to tell us the kind of facilities that are testing, and then the various cases that have been recorded from those facilities, their testing capacities as far as each on daily basis actually concerned. We should be able to know this. And then even from the case count, I expect that they should be throwing more light on our current case count as we have here in the country as well. So these are some of the key things I actually expect from the press briefing today. Yeah.
If you were involved, you've been involved in contact tracing. By the way, are you still doing it?
Currently, no. I
okay.
have.
All right. Okay. So, what is it that we can do? What will it take for us to be able to say, let's say within a 2 or 3 day correction, we have up-to-date figures?
We can only have up-to-date figures when the testing is decentralized. Because once the tests are always being converged at, bigger points, it makes it difficult for the results to actually trickle in as and when we expect them. Because as I indicated, there's always going to be a backlog because the samples have to be taken from faraway places and then brought to the testing centers. So if we don't expedite actions on us being able to test for the cases in the various regions, then we are going to always have we will never get the real-time data that we really want to get as and when we really deserve. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm looking forward to hear what they have to say today, because where we stand right now, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Let me go and read another story to you, and then let's talk about that. Where we find ourselves as far as the protecting ourselves is concerned, persons without face masks are denied access to Accra Central Business District. So persons without nose masks are being prevented from entering the Central Business District of Accra. The move is to ensure compliance with the no mask, no entry directives by the Greater Accra Coordinating Council and the Ministry of Health as a way of stopping the spread of COVID-19. Security personnel have been deployed to ensure enforcement of the directive. According to the Accra Regional Alpha SWAT Commander DSP Sulemana Sule, security officials are primarily engaging and encouraging those coming into the Central Business District to wear the mask. He said those who are adamant and insist on proceeding without the mask are denied access and asked to either get one or return home. We are engaging the people, encouraging them to wear the mask, and in a way we are also enforcing it. If when you are around this street, if you are not with it, we will engage you, explain to you, and encourage you to use it. Where you are adamant, we advise you to go home and stay. This is what we are doing, and it is in line with the protocols towards COVID-19, he said, while stressing that commercial bus drivers must ensure that all passengers on board wear masks. He said the passengers without them will be made to buy one or disembark. The majority of people are in support. When it is a commercial vehicle, the drivers are to ensure that passengers wear the mask before getting on board. If you are not wearing it, will get you off the vehicle. For those who are on the streets, if you are not wearing it, we'll ask you to go back unless you buy and wear one. We are not making any arrests, but this is for your safety and the other people you are here to interact with. Now, is this enough What do you make of this current directive?
Well, two main issues here. In the first place, I think I totally agree that this should be made mandatory as it's been because I've been advocating for this ever since we started. We lifted the restrictions on movements.
Yeah.
But two main things. The first one is that it is better that we invest more in education as to the right usage of the face masks.
Okay.
Because on my way coming, I had to stop at 3 different points and then caution certain people, try to educate them on how
to wear it. Okay.
Because at the end of the day, people will even end up infecting themselves and others more than even those who are using the face mask will end up infecting themselves more because of the wrong usage of the masks. Because if we do not invest in this, we may be blindly, kind of
assuming that we are safe.
Assuming we are going to be, safe, but then that wouldn't be the case. And then the second point is that I believe this directive is late because we lifted the restrictions about 2 weeks ago, and as at now we are now trying to make it mandatory. I believe it is. Last week the ministry released the statements talking about it should be mandatory at various points. So I was expecting that directive should have gone in tandem with all the various assemblies, their directives as it's coming now, because there has been a lag period about a week.
Yeah.
And if there is any sort of infection that could have gone on, it should have taken place by now already. So I believe these are my two main issues with this directive. The first one, we should invest more in education. The people at the security agents at the various places who are going to ensure the usage of the masks must themselves be in the know as to how to properly wear the mask. And the second point is that this is late, but then it is better late than never. It is late in the sense that it should have actually gone right in tandem with the directive as it was given somewhere last week.
Yeah.
So I'm also expecting from today's press briefing that some very, 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 very stringent measures, are outlined, and some strategies are also outlined by the authority to ensure that there is compliance, not just compliance, people wearing it on their chin and moving about. Some are using it as some kind of torchlight, I don't know, some torch or something, and they are moving around.
Yeah.
That is going to be more problematic for us. So these are the two things I actually expect from this directive. If we do not get this done, then I'm afraid this measure, though well-intentioned, will not achieve its purpose.
Now, I in that story there's another one here in the Statesman. The Ghanaian Times. I'm going to read that. But on the online story that we have, you get a sense of the security apparatus and the authorities that be are unwilling to go hard on it. For example, the security person, I think it was a policeman, was saying that they're not arresting anybody yet. And I'm wondering that if we do this sort of pussyfooting around, maybe it's counterproductive. I don't know.
Well, I believe their main issue for the not arresting anybody may be the legality of it, but which I'm not qualified to discuss. So, but then I also think that the main concern here should be they at the various points ensuring that if you don't have it, you don't enter.
So why not? Look, the regional minister can enact. Can he not enact bylaws? Can we not have the various MMDAs have bylaws?
Sure,
I'm not sure if that will work. I'm just asking.
Sure, they can actually have them.
Yeah.
But as to whether you can actually cause arrests, that is why I was talking about the legality bit of it.
If you enact a bylaw and somebody flouts it,
well, all you can do is that this is my area, this is my territory. If you don't have it, don't come into my territory.
Okay.
That is all I believe you can do. You can prevent, just as we are doing with the borders, with the borders. The same, we can also do the same thing, and I believe that is the rationale for it now. This is my territory. if you are coming in, you should have it. If you don't have it, don't come.
Yeah.
So if you want to come, you must have it. That is a better way of going by it. But I believe it is being kind of relaxed. But I'm waiting to see.
I think it's too relaxed.
It is relaxed. So I'm waiting to see. Probably because they haven't, start. I believe that they said tomorrow.
Said tomorrow, yes.
Yes, from tomorrow. So
let me
we are
read
waiting till tomorrow to see.
Let me read
what
that
will
story.
happen.
Let me read the story from the Ghanaian Times for you. So, mandatory mask wearing starts tomorrow in Accra to curb the spread of COVID-19. The Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council (RCC) has directed Metropolitan, Municipal, and District Assemblies (MMDAs) in the region to provide nose masks to the vulnerable in the various communities. The decision forms part of government's effort to curb the spread of the novel coronavirus COVID-19 in the country. Public Relations Officer of the Greater Accra RCC, Ya Bohema Ochri, who disclosed this to Ghanaian Times in Accra yesterday, said the regional minister Ishmael Ashite, along with other members of the Regional Security Council, would, in collaboration with the police, strictly enforce the mandatory wearing of nose masks within the week. Now, it says mandatory wearing of nose masks within the week. So it'll be interesting. We'll continue our conversation after this short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's here, the Express Pay app. More social, more power, more services. Experience a cooler way of payments with exciting new features. Want to go social? Payments are even more seamless with an enhanced. Even cooler, view payment due dates and check remaining balances for your favorite accounts. Want to repeat a payment? Do that right from the History tab. Have all your money in one place with a sleek look and feel. Bank Direct has had an awesome makeover. You can now send money instantly to 22 banks and counting. Express Pay. Payments simplified.
Welcome back. It's Breakfast Daily, and this is a news review segment. My name is David Kwekusechi, and we're discussing the coronavirus pandemic and the fallout from that. We looked at the Ghana records 2,719 cases so far. We're looking at 294 recoveries. We've also been talking about the face masks and persons who are not wearing face masks from this week are going to be denied access to the Accra CBD. Now, if it says, so my guest is Terence Nubeng, and we've been talking about this. Terence, if it says denied access to Accra CBD, where is the CBD? What's the remit of the CBD? And does it mean, by inference, that everywhere outside the CBD is free for all?
Okay, so let me take us a little back to the case counts that we are having.
Yeah.
As from what the data we are gathering from, as far as the virus is concerned, we may have a reproductive rate of the disease about 2.5 to 2.7. Okay, so it means that for each person who gets the infection, the person is likely to infect, about 2 to 3 other persons. So if we are looking at 500 and something cases, look at the number of people who can be infected as well. So I believe since our president assured us that we are actually working with the data and the science, I believe this would also inform the decision as to the measures to be taken on the masks.
Yeah.
Where the wearing of the face masks. Because I think the measures as just the central business district. So it means that, you know, central business, it means Accra, if you are talking about Accra,
It's actually quite small.
It's just a small area.
Yeah.
So if you get to a place like maybe Blankwandana Madina or something, just the business district.
I mean, Achimota is not part.
It's not even part of. So it is a very
the
very
Accra
small
city.
area.
Yeah.
So it means that the person can wear the face and be without the mask from all these places.
Yeah.
And when I get into it, I just put it on. This is actually not the way to go.
Yeah.
And this is only just for Accra. The Accra metropolis. We should
Yeah.
be looking at all the other assemblies as well.
Yeah.
Because once we have lifted the restrictions, there is a likelihood that we are going to experience more and more cases. So if we do not make these things more mandatory, I believe we are just going to be playing with the issue and we'll just be kind of massaging it. But we should be addressing it head on. Yeah.
The regional minister, no, it's not the regional minister, the public relations officer of the Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council said that, she says here, in the coming days they will outline measures that will compel people to compulsorily wear the nose masks. I'm wondering what kind of measures you can use to compel people if by the same token you are saying that you're not arresting anyone.
Well, you see, sometimes when I hear some of these statements, I get so sad coming from those in authority. In the coming days, do we know how serious this condition is? So before we even come out to make such statements, we should have actually be having the right information, be just giving them out like that. As I indicated, the issue on the face mask, it is late. More than 2 weeks now. And then we are saying in the coming days, which are the coming days? And more people are also being infected.
Yeah.
So I believe our authority, they are not doing us so much of good by way of this one. By way of this, I believe they can do more.
Okay, well, let's go to the next story. 19 Burkinabes arrested and repatriated for entering Ghana illegally. Now, this is a very sore one for me because I think that as much as we are doing what we can within country, it looks like people are still somehow entering. So the story here says on citynewsroom.com, some 19 Burkinabe nationals have been arrested at the Savalugu Inland Post in the northern region for entering Ghana illegally. They have been subsequently repatriated. According to the Ghana Immigration Service, the Burkinabe nationals were on board an OA transport vehicle with registration number GT 824219 en route to Accra when they were arrested. A statement from the GIS said the Burkinabes who used unapproved routes into the country attempted to bribe the men at the post to allow the offer. Upon interrogation, it was revealed that they used unapproved routes into the country. Each of them offered 100 Ghana cedis to the officers to be allowed to continue their journey. This, the officers rejected, the release disclosed. The officers asked that they are sent back. The driver of the vehicle was very cooperative with the officers. Due to the fact that some Ghanaian nationals were also on board the vehicle, could be inconvenienced, a call was placed to the manager of the OA transport company named Kinsley, who arranged another vehicle from Tamale to convey them back to the Paga border post to be repatriated. Ghana has closed its land, sea, and air borders and is not allowing the movement of public buses except it's transporting goods and cargo. The move is part of efforts to stop the spread of coronavirus in the country, yet some foreigners continue to illegally find their way into Ghana. Since the border closure, about 40 Burkinabe nationals have been arrested in the northern part of the country using unapproved routes to enter the country. Now, so what are we doing wrong? Because the way I see it, there's some people are complicit in all this. Yes, at a point you find that the immigration have stopped the people and found ways to turn them back and send them out of the country. But time and again, it looks like people are bent on doing what it is that they want to do to eke out a living, legally or illegally. They don't care.
Well, I would like to commend the Immigration Service. I believe they are doing their best, to ensure. I have a few friends in the Immigration Service, and when I speak to them, and I believe it is very challenging. It's a very challenging work they are actually doing. But when you actually look at how the issues are coming up, you realize that a lot of, or some recalcitrant Ghanaians or citizens are actually, supporting these foreigners, their entry, using the unapproved routes and all that. If we tend to prioritize financial gains over lives in the country, these are some of the things that we will end up getting as a people. It is very, 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 very sad, because these are people who came in through unapproved routes, and then I believe they some citizens of the country, because they couldn't have just come on their own. Your story says that the driver was quite compliant. I believe we should just go beyond being compliant to, if possible, if drivers are picking people from these borders, we should be looking at finding a way to actually check, as a transport operator, I should be finding a way to check whether they are citizens, whether they are Ghanaians or something like that. Because of the times that we are in, we should be looking at ways to support the Immigration Service to ensure that they really, really man our borders very, very well. Because if we do not, then I'm afraid the fight would actually get out of hand.
So, what I find curious is that the driver, wasn't he aware that he was transporting 19 foreigners who were literally just come into the country? And knowing that our borders are closed, what would it mean? I mean, I'm trying to figure it out. From the story, it's not very clear.
Yes, I was also thinking of it in the same line. But then I believe this brings a very, very important issue with our transportation system in the country. We don't really check who is coming on board a bus. We don't. All we check is that the person is able to pay, and then we just allow the person to join and all that. So that's why I said that more responsibility should be given to the transport operators and the drivers themselves during this era, to ensure that they themselves have a way or a mechanism of at least checking, basic things, to ensure that the people that they are conveying from one point to the other are actually people who qualify to go into those areas. That is, if we do not give them that kind of responsibility now, to ensure that transport operators, are kind of given some, a little bit of training or education on how to identify such persons they are conveying. And we will just be talking about this over and over, because we started recording cases of other persons trying to enter the country way back since we put in the restrictions, and as of now we are still recording people coming in. Meaning, we should be looking at ways to ensure that other people help the Immigration Service. As I said, they are doing their best, but then they should be supported, and the support should come from us, the citizens of the country, to ensure that their work is more effective. If we do not do this, then I don't see any way.
In what way should we support them? They are being paid to do a job.
Sure.
So how do we support them? What are some of the ways we can support them to?
One of the ways, as I just indicated, is ensuring that the transport operators themselves are, allowed or are given some kind of support to ensure they can even check the people that they are conveying. So if I'm a bus driver from the border coming into maybe Accra or something, there should be a mechanism for me to be able to check. Not just, I'm not only taking my transport fare, but I'm checking this person who is going here, what is his nationality, does he qualify to be here, and all that. If the person is able to check, once they are able to raise those flags, they quickly link up with the Immigration Service, and then they are quickly sent and then repatriated back to wherever they are coming from. It would really help. They are the main people who can help us now Because as for the indigents, people are doing their best. There was one case that I was told that around the Sampa border, people, some of the indigents themselves called the immigration people to tell them, these people, we suspect that they are actually, so they are also doing their best. So persons living along the borders should all be, engaged to ensure that we win this fight. If not, then the immigration service alone they're handicapped. How many men do they even have at the various borders? It's an issue that we should be really looking at as a people.
Talking about transportation and especially long journey vehicles. Last week, a friend of mine sent me pictures on 2 different trips. Okay, one was a VIP, the other one was an OA. He sent pictures with bus numbers and all the details. The buses, there's no social distancing on the buses. What do you make of this? It looks as though the practice, it's not going to go away because they are more concerned about how much money they're going to lose if they actually practice social distancing on the buses.
As I indicated, we as humans, we tend to be prioritizing financial gains over lives because we are not seeing the true picture of our actions. That is the first instance. But I believe we could do more with this. Gone are the days when you are moving from Accra to Kumasi, you can get to about minimum of about 6 police checkpoints along the route from Accra to Kumasi, sometimes even more than that. What are they doing as at now? From the various transport agencies, the various points like the VIP station, the terminal, and all the other various terminals, there should be some security presence there to ensure that the persons who are boarding are observing the approved or the required social distancing as has been outlined. If this is not done, the transport operators will say, oh, I can even pick and nobody will even notice. If this, and then those who are also boarding the buses themselves must also take responsibility. When you notice that they are not adhering to the protocol, there should even be a protocol for the person to actually flag it and then report to the nearest police station or the nearest security agent to ensure that the appropriate actions are taken. If not, then I believe all this will just be for nothing.
But here's the case where it looks like I don't know whether I should say government or the authorities that seem unwilling, at least as at now, to insist on some form of social distancing on buses. To say, look, fair enough, we will do some kind of a compensation for you, but you definitely have to do social distancing. I don't know if we can implement that. Is that too much to ask?
So for any person running any business entity, the person seeks to make some financial gains.
Yes.
So if I have a bus that can pick about 40 people, and you ask me to, because of social distancing, to pick about 20 or something like that, it means that what happens to the other? Do you get it? So I believe that government needs to actually support these transport operators more to ensure that they actually adhere to the protocol very, very well. If not, they will still continue, trying to find their way and then adding more people than necessary on their various trips. If not, then I'm afraid.
Now, continue with the transportation issue. We're looking to open up now our flights, internal flights. Again, is this not going to become an issue because the flight takes 30 people, or let's say the flight takes 60 people? Now you're going to talk about social distancing. If you remove, half the number from the plane, what's going to happen? I mean, should they fly now? Should they, cut their losses and say, look, let's just wait till COVID-19 is over, or at least let's fly now and make 50%, but 50% is better than zero.
Prior to COVID-19, even I know a lot of the local flights were actually airlines where they were complaining of not getting the required numbers and all that for their trips, and then some of them were even had to, have been collapsed and all of that.
Yeah.
So I believe any smart business person in this era should know what he or she is getting into. If already you are not getting the number of persons on your flight, and you are also supposed to observe certain kind of social distancing and all that to ensure that the numbers are really cut down.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the time that we should be looking at this mode of transport, because as at now, as we speak, as at now, I think the restrictions are being relaxed too much, and then there is no plan to ensure that each restriction that is eased, there is a countermeasure to ensure that there's something in place. I believe that we are going too fast because we are looking so much about financial gains, economic gains, but then we are not looking at how the impact of the virus can actually have on us as a people, because our health is the wealth of the nation. Once we don't actually look at it from that angle, we continue to ease the restrictions each and every moment because of economic gains, we are likely to go into an area whereby we will not be able to stand.
All right.
2,700 cases is nothing to go that we should be joking over.
Okay. Well, we have other guests online now. Nanaya Akwada, who is the Executive Director of Bureau for Public Safety. Good morning to you, Nanaya.
Good morning, David. Good morning.
Nanaya, good morning.
Good morning, David, and good morning to your guest in the studio.
Yeah, so let's quickly get into it. The Greater Accra region is looking to make mandatory mask wearing. What do you make of it? Is it feasible? I mean, the last time we're talking about the levels of safety, and that wearing of masks was the least on the scale. What do you make of this measure?
Well, David, these are very, very difficult and tricky times. Look, out of the whole lot, the 2,700 that we have, yesterday we predicted that we should be hitting 3,000 by close of this week. And from where we are and what we see now, if we have to update this data on a daily basis, most certainly we will cross the 3,000 mark this week. It is very instrumental to appreciate that we have reached the exponential zone. And it's even more critical for us to understand that Greater Accra is the epicenter for the virus in Ghana. With over 2,700 cases covered across the country, Greater Accra is accounting for a whopping 2,300. That's a significant percentage. If you decide to make face mask wearing mandatory in Greater Accra, knowing very well that it is the least of the control measures that you can have in an epicenter, I'm telling you that we are acting we are not acting responsibly enough, if you like. We are not acting responsibly enough as far as taking measures to stop the spread of the virus in the country.
What else should we do?
Well, if you ask me, we have seen other countries, the measures that have worked. We have seen measures that have worked, and we should be bold enough to make or to take those measures. Look, I believe that the respite of the team, they are taking their respite from the fact that majority of our cases that we are recording are not critical. Most of them, they say, are asymptomatic. And so if we can even record 50,000 as a country and majority remain asymptomatic, we should not have a problem. But the fear that we want to guard against now is if out of these 2,700, of course, we take only the active cases. If just 10% of the total active cases go into critical stage, we will have serious challenges with our health system. We will have very serious challenges. When it comes to economic burden, that is drawn from the health realm. So it is something that we should be looking at. We must keep an eye on it, that we must do everything possible to keep the numbers down across the country. And one of the most effective ways, proven all over the world where cases have really spiked, is to go into lockdown. We cannot play any more games with these numbers, because we run the risk of costing lives. We run the risk of going into making a desperate lockdown, which will be more severe, which impact will be more severe on the populace than moving into a deliberate lockdown. If we wait and we have to lock down in a desperate manner, it will be so severe and the effects will be catastrophic. So now that we have the breathing space, let's move into a deliberate lockdown, well structured, well planned, and we iron it out until such time that we are sure that we have control on the spread.
Yeah.
As it stands now, I'm telling you, the managers of the COVID in our country do not have the control that we expect them to have 7 or 8 weeks into the outbreak in our country. The kind of control that we want to see is not what we are saying now.
8 weeks, almost 8 weeks into the outbreak in Ghana, some would argue that then the science and the data don't suggest that we're going to have a moving into the critical phase by a mass movement into the critical phase of people, and so that you are crying, over something that's never going to happen.
Well, the science and the data, interpreting it is, you must be appreciate that it comes with a lot of dynamics. As we speak, we suspect that we have reached our exponential stage. Now, it's based to not have any behind data. As we speak, the demographics of the data that we have does not indicate the majority of our cases are falling in the zone where we have the aging population.
Yeah.
Most of whom we understand that because by virtue of their age, they are more vulnerable. They do not have the resilience to stand this condition. So on what calculations are we basing on to project that in the next 2 weeks, the demographic distribution is going to remain the same?
Well, if we look at the critical, moderately ill and critical numbers, we're looking at 5 currently. This number has never, been higher than this. At every point in time, it's roughly around this number. Earlier on, it was even lower than that. So really, I don't know if what some people are suggesting makes any sense to you, that if we are maintaining the numbers critically ill or moderately ill, at 5 or below, let's say even below 10, the healthcare system is capable of handling that. So what's the cause for concern? Why panic and go and suggest a lockdown?
Well, for purposes of this discussion, let me ask you this question, and I believe this question should be directed to the planning, the response team. That did you see our numbers, growing by 400s, by 200s, by hundreds? only 2 weeks ago? Did you see it coming? If you didn't see it coming, then you should know that the kind of distribution that we have today can change in a twinkle of an eye. And if it changes, that is where we begin to have the problem. And as a public health, public safety advocate, we always want to err on the side of caution. Look, let the economists make their projections. Let those who want to play with data make their projections. What we see is that the numbers are growing. What we see is that it doesn't look like there is any control over the growing numbers. Yes, we go out there to pursue contacts, secondary, tertiary contacts, and bring those numbers, rope those numbers in. And so we literally are going after the patients and roping them in for treatment. Mm-hmm. But the point is, at what point are we going to transit from the bars that we have between those who are between, in their 40s? At what point are we going to transit from that to those above those in their 50s and their 60s, which is which location? Yes, the trouble starts from. Mm-hmm. At what point? If we cannot predict that point, there is every reasonable justification for us to begin to, put society under the kind of regime that will enable us to halt the spread. As it stands now, nothing shows that we have halted the spread. And yesterday, when we met, the question we asked the experts was that, are we nurturing a herd immunity? Are we looking to people getting infected and then eventually developing immunity? That's what we are looking at. There is a way that we have to go about it. Otherwise, at this rate, for Greater Accra, it makes sense that you keep your spread down. And one way to do that is not by face masks. At the rate that we are going, it's not lockdown. It's by a lockdown.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Nana Akwada. We will speak with you again another time. We've been talking to Nana Akwada, who is the Executive Director of the Bureau for Public Safety. And then also in studio, I was joined by Terence Nubeng, who is the Director for Advocacy and Research at the Africa Center for Health Policy. Thank you for watching this segment of the show. We're going to be going over to the presser as soon as they go live. And so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Extra minutes and extra unlimited calls. Not just that, even our extra data doesn't expire. Simply dial *111# to bundle now.
Airtel Tigo. Life is simple. There is no promise we cannot keep. There is no commitment we cannot honor. There is no delivery we cannot guarantee. There is only one Bethel Logistics Company Limited, a licensed international freight forwarding and clearing agent, a trusted global brand with an extensive network for the movement of air freight and ocean freight worldwide. We are the trusted name for road freight into Western and Northern Africa. We are fully accredited by Ghana Customs and Excise. We cater for all your freight forwarding, customs clearing and forwarding, cross trades, inland transportation, internal cargo tracking systems, customer freight costing and consultancy, cold chain logistics management, logistics and warehousing, quality inspection, and much more. In Accra, Tema, and Takrady, we are always available to ensure easy movement of cargo countrywide. Call us on 0204 528 900 or 0244 707 859. Email info@bethellogistics.com. Locate us in Accra at North Ridge, adjacent Accra Girls High School, or in Tema at Community 4, or in Takrady on the second floor of the GCB building. Website bethellogistics.com. Bethlog, experts in shipping logistics.
There is nothing as hard as a diamond. For buildings with superior strength that withstand all weather conditions, Diamond Cement should be your preferred choice. Locate Diamond Cement nationwide with factories in Aflao, Takrady, and Bupe. Diamond Cement, as hard as a diamond.
It's here, the Express Pay app. More social, more power, more services. Experience a cooler way of payments with exciting new features. Want to go social? Upload a cool image to add a personal feel to your account. Payments are even more seamless with an enhanced process. Mark some accounts as favorites so they are super easy to access. Even cooler, view payment due dates and check remaining balances for your favorite accounts. Want to repeat a payment? Do that right from the History tab. Have all your money in one place with a sleek look and feel. Bank Direct has had an awesome makeover. You can now send money instantly to 22 banks and counting. Express Pay, payment simplified.
Ghana is a beautiful country. There is so much of it you probably haven't seen, haven't experienced, haven't touched, haven't felt, haven't eaten. When this is all over, let's discover our land again with new eyes. Let's feel each other again. We are one people, brought together by destiny. Let's make that count. Let's show love for each other and our environment. Let's tell our stories, and let's watch and listen to our stories. There will be so much to tell. Ghana is a truly beautiful country. Be Ghana, stay in Ghana, experience Ghana, make Ghana great. And we will invite the world to come and experience Ghana too. But for now, stay home. Brought to you by the National Film Authority. Support the Stay Home and Discover Ghana Later campaign. This channel supports the campaign.
Daily on TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. And in a couple of minutes, we'll be hearing from the Information Ministry. They'll be talking to us about a directive on face mask, as well as the updates on the rapid diagnostic testing, and finally where we are as far as this general surveillance and case management is concerned. And I'm personally looking forward to them addressing the health effects of this face mask directive, because if we're approaching from a perspective where it looks like we're borderline criminalizing the people who don't have on the face mask, we don't want people to rush to do the wrong thing because they're trying to impress, police people or something, like the way you said a couple of days ago, people were sharing face masks. I think if people are doing it wrongly, it's because we have failed to educate them enough to understand the magnitude of the problem, because we don't want something that looks good on the outside but people are actually infecting themselves more because they are trying to please us. I think the focus should be on wear your face mask because it's for your own good. It's not because it's the right thing to do or because someone is going to turn you away if you don't have it on.
No, I think that a lot of that has been going on, and I think that we need to come very clear on it. First of all, I want to hear it from the authorities. They need to come very clear on it. But then secondly, they also need to tell us what it is that they're going to do in terms of the rollout, because when you say that you're going to make it compulsory, right, and yet you're not going to arrest people for it, then for me, the challenge is what sort of measures are you going to enforce, and if you're enforcing, is turning away people enough, and then you say CBD. If you say CBD, where is the CBD? If it's a crash CBD, where is that? Or are we now saying that all the municipal assemblies have their own CBDs? So what about people who are randomly walking through the streets? What about them, right? Are there markets within the CBD area and so on and so forth? If you go outside of Accra. So anyway,
definitely. So we'll be hearing from them not only on the face mask but as well as the testing and how far we are with the general surveillance and enhanced contact tracing. So we'll cross over to the Information Ministry right now and hear what they have to say to the nation.
Let us assure ourselves that now we don't have such problem with coronavirus. It is not killing us that much, but we are all scared to the bone marrow. Why? Because it is spreading. And we don't even want people who have been tested positive to get close to us. Yes, because we may be infected. So I'm only going to talk about the few things we need to do to allay this. The president, on several occasions he has spoken, continues to advise that if you don't have the thing very, very critical seriously for you to do, please stay at home. For this, and still, after several weeks, several speeches by the president, we are still not listening. So some will just come out, no matter what. And they have told us that the disease has no legs. It moves from person to person. So if you don't stay in your home and you come out, and you have it, you get somebody else. If you don't even have it, it is likely you pick it from the streets and take it back to your home to infect others who are there. So why are we not staying at home? At the workplace, we have been asked that don't let all your staff come to work at the same time. Some companies are allowing people to stay home for 2 weeks. Then they will change like a shift system so that they will get space to observe social distancing. If banks, companies that are making huge monies, have accepted that let some of our staff stay at home, what is the implication? It is reducing productivity. Their revenues are going down, but they have agreed to observe that. So those of us who come out just to a chat, to sit somewhere and do kokosa, why can't we stay at home? And if you do this, it means that we continue to have spread. Dr. Boaji will talk to you about what is happening in the system now. So bear in mind that anything to come out, it is likely you are going to go back home with the disease. So if you don't have something very critical for you to do, please stay at home. Fortunately for us, our televisions and our radios, several of them, are always working. So you can get something to watch. You can get radio to listen to at home. So why do you want to come out? I'll talk about social distancing. Very critical. The Minister for Local Government worked together with us, has managed to even designate 2 markets, temporary, so that we can have space to do social distancing whilst we isolate our food items. So when you go to some places, they are using open spaces like football pitches as parks, as kids. So those of us who are even going to buy that food, why can't we also queue or go when there is somebody in front of a woman selling tomatoes and we want to go and cramp ourselves around just one market person? That will not help us at all. So let us begin, having started, to do and observe social distancing protocols. When people are get closer to me, I make my hand like this. Please stay away, don't get close to me. And I tell them that I am exposed. Why? Because me and the doctors, they know what is happening to us. We get closer to people who have been tested positive. So we should think that we are exposed. And therefore, even if your wife is coming close to you, say, Madam, please wait, I'm exposed. Just to keep social distancing guidelines, to reduce the rate at which a number of us can get the disease. In Europe, they like football more than us. But of late, they have suspended all their leagues. Germany, England, Italy, everywhere. Why? Because if they begin to play their football, people will come to the stadium, and that will break their social distancing regulations or protocols. So don't let us get out 3, 4 of us, 10 of us gathering together unnecessarily. They start talking about personal hygiene. When we were in school, they taught us this. Washing hands. It is not a new thing. Only that we ignored. Now it has become very, very necessary that we wash our hands frequently. If you're on television, they are not teaching us how to wash our hands very efficiently. Why would they say so? There is good reason why we should begin to wash our hands with soap as many times as we can every day. In some of our houses now, they have bought their own Veronica buckets. They provide their own homes. So when you are entering somebody's house, there is some facility for you to wash your hands with soap before you go in. Marketplaces, some market the associations have bought their own. In some instances where government has allowed people to go because of food, we have tried to provide some quantities of these buckets with soap and towel. But I keep asking myself, if you go and place a Verona bucket close to a junction in Nima, for example, and you give them soap, you may give them 1 gallon of liquid soap, about 10 towels. Do you person, the person who put it there, have to go back every day and do these things? Some communities are providing themselves because of the necessity of it. So if people are putting their hands in their pockets, government is providing where it's available. Why wouldn't we wash our hands very nicely so that we don't infect ourselves and infect other people? Again, I'm advising that it is very important for us to adhere to the advice we are being given. We cough most times in public, even when we are 2 or 3. We sneeze. That is a natural call. Because when it comes there, you have to sneeze. You can tell God that, please suspend it until another time. You will sneeze. When these things happen to us, they're asking us to cough here and sneeze here. But I think the best thing is that you cover your nose and your mouth and sneeze into paper towels. So these days, let's learn from what the women do. You know, women, we don't do that. But most women have tissue paper, the small ones, in their bags that they carry. So let us men also learn to do that. So wherever you are, there is some semblance of tissue. so that you can use to sneeze, to cough, and dispose of it properly. Don't throw it in the middle of the street. Put it back where you picked it from your hand or somewhere. Take it where you can dispose of into a bin that is closed, or you find a way to burn it. So we need to observe these rules, and when we feel those things, hand washing should follow. The scientists are telling us that we don't need to be touching our noses, our faces, and our eyes. Those of us who are the very small HI will scratch and scratch and scratch. They say we stop. Because if you had mistakenly touched somewhere and the virus is here, immediately you start scratching, touching your nose, putting something in your mouth, you get it. So if you can at all, you should put your hand anywhere in your face. And if that is itching, you try to sustain, subdue it. So that is another advice they are giving us. Don't let us touch our faces. We should learn to do this. So like I said, we have to learn to do certain things in a different manner, because the virus will continue to stay with us for a very long time. But these are all personal hygiene things we were taught in school. We forgot about them. But it looks like God will remind us of personal hygiene. And so coronavirus, the new one, and then all these things follow, so that we'll be mindful of what we should do to keep ourselves neat. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects or surfaces, such as remote controls and doorknobs. So you see where they are taking us to. Anytime we're coming here, you'll find somebody, immediately once finishes cleaning, sanitizing this place for another person to come. Or we ourselves sanitizing our hands. Now they're asking us that even doorknobs, your homes, and especially in offices and public places, when you are touching, you should be careful. So immediately you touch, somebody else should disinfect. And there are some of these spray things for disinfection that we can use to do these things. What is now becoming very critical and very important, and it should even be mandatory in our mindset, is wearing of masks. Luckily for us, initially when we started, it was like we have to import masks in very large quantities. Through ingenuity and innovation, Ghanaians are now sewing our own masks. So wherever you pass around the middle of the street, people are now selling. But let us be cautious. The Food and Drugs Authority is registering companies that are doing the masks. Not all material can be used. They have a way of sewing it, the lining and things like that. And that is what they're proving, such that we can have some standards in the mask production. And I drove around town, some places, and people are wearing the masks. Meanwhile, some of us are selling the masks by the roadside. And it is not very, very, very expensive. But I know, even if it's 1 cedi, some of us will not have money to buy. So those of us who have a little extra, more than 1 cedi, when you buy one with your 2 cedi, buy one for your next neighbor. That has been the Ghanaian way of life. We support each other. And I'm pleading with companies, organizations, churches, those who have. There are those of us who don't have. We need some to wear so that the president will know we are listening to his advice. So the idea of I don't have money to buy should not be an excuse to end up from anybody. We see people in the middle of the street begging for money. So that money you are begging for, use some to buy the mask. Some cannot be worn on several occasions. We call them disposable. When you wear it and you take it off, you throw away. Not many of us can wear that one. But the ones we are sewing in Ghana, they are reusable. When you wear, you can reuse it. But before you reuse, you take it off even after you have come back from town or wherever you went. You have to wash it, disinfect it, iron it before you wear again. And you can continue to wear on several occasions. So if you have 2 or 3 maximum, you can wear for the next 1 month. Just the 3. Unless else it gets torn or it fades and doesn't look good in your face. So again, this is going to be a new way of our lives. We should be wearing masks, especially when we are coming out and in public places. If you don't do this, we don't cut the spread. And that is one sure way that we can protect ourselves and we can also protect others that we may get close to. So those of us who our work makes it compulsory for us to be in public places all day, market women, bank officials, where people are coming to you, civil servants and public servants, the judges, everybody across anywhere. Those of us who have been doing family home evenings, organizing ourselves, family devotion. When you are coming to your own children, you wouldn't know who had gone out in course of the day. The need for us to continue to wear masks wherever 2 or 3 people meet. So the Bible, they say wherever 2 or 3 people meet, there is God. So this time, wherever 2 or 3 people meet, let there be masks, so that we all wear these masks. You see, God wants us not to do certain things. When you have this mask, you can't drink. Can you? So God wants to tell us that don't go and sit somewhere, then sit and drink beer and drink alcohol. So you have the mask, then God will be comfortable with you because you're going to drink. So let us learn to wear mask. It is very, 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 very important. Now it looks like the magic to avoid the spread, to cut the spread. One of them is the mask wearing, and we should learn to do that. I have talked about social distancing, but especially when people are sick, we have not tested. They have taken sample waiting for results. Don't let us get very close to them. Stay home if you are sick. I've said earlier on that even if you are not sick, stay at home. So if you even get sick, that is when you shouldn't come out at all. We call it self-isolation. You can call your doctor when you develop fever, you are coughing, or you have it very difficult to breathe. If you develop these symptoms, please try and make a call of a way to get to the closest CHIP compound or health center or a hospital that is close to you, and let them see if you are getting close, to show the symptoms that will give them case definition, to call your samples to be taken to be tested. If for some reason you have come to contact with anybody, we have people who are in what we call contact tracing. They will call you nicely on telephone, or they will come to your home. Please keep space. They might have picked somebody who is positive, and the person have told them that over the last 3 days, I visited this man, I visited this house, I visited here. And when they get your contact, they will come to you to try to find out how you are doing. And they will take your sample to be sure that you haven't contracted the disease. So allow them to let them come into our homes for our own protection. Last 4 days or so, the Director General told me that some of our young people who are doing contact tracing have been sacked when they went to some place in Jamestown or Bukom. Please, they are coming in our own interest. So if you see them, and there is one of us amongst you there will be a problem. So allow our contact tracing teams access to you. If they invite you on telephone, please pay heed to it and get to them. They come to your house, treat them nicely, and let them come and take your sample, so that we all stay away from these diseases. The last thing I will say is that if any one of us wants to contract the disease and wants to die voluntarily, the rest of us don't want to die. So don't bring your death to join us. So don't think that you're protecting only yourself. By adhering to these protocols, you are helping all of us. So it is not your choice. It should be our choice, all of us together. So help us to live together and survive the coronavirus. Let me thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that at this elaborate and extensive discussion, I've engaged the information minister is sacking me from the podium because of time. Don't let him labor in vain. Don't let our president labor in vain. Don't let task force he has set up labor in vain. Don't let the doctors and all the healthcare labor in vain. God will not bless you if you help us to go that way. I thank you so much. Can I speak a little bit of tree? But I can't speak. And my tree is Bono. Nobody understands Bono, so I'll try. DJ is telling me, no. When you to the mind, you see what we do to you. I was for me someone. None of them be hey. Me person me can't. Doctor no say my me can be no. Say yenya do see, yenya do see. Ye de ne kosro. Man panyin time bi obeka se bia okika nsem bia ye ndi so. Yare no ye abate. Ebe traso a we ase nyina anya Ghana nko a wo ye ni mbre bebre. Eni aduro yeti ye kakra Ghana fo no onku ye kese. Nipa nkura benya bi no benyare kese. Nsi hu abo ye nyina na ye ntimi ntina humsa. Eze se frase nya hokoduro. Kwana ebe faso bia ma ye so no. Onene ya hobo so no. Mampanyini da bi okasa okana na okatwi kakra. Se oni bibi pa o hia kese se na bontina. Nkwa abontene stay at home. Mesremu a siamfa wo ya anya adwuma. Ye nyina nya yare no bi. Enti mesremu apu na doctors no de ma mampanyini kasa oka no mo me afanya adwuma. Se oni bibi ya ehia kese pa wo abontena. Nkwa abontene. Samre wei ehia se me kosram maame, kosram nana. Fa telephone free no chia no. Tino should go to visit nobody. It's a here park kese say yeko. Afi yansa hohoro no. Esremwa yeku school yen kra no be kire se hohoro yansa. Ye fa san ka ho be kire TV Sunday be kan radio so. Esremwa se be ya bia hohoro ne sampem bebre. Oko be fi odu kwara no a jinso hohoro nsa. Nrungu ba bia ejina ho. Manso na etene ye fa gu nsa so mra hohoro nsa kama. Na fi watumi abra ho abi baby be the social distancing and the brofkasa trasio ye gina ho ye ntete ye ntam se be ya wasa nteso afiri anu ba no bi onka oyonko enti entam tete no de hia pa because yare no Ghana ha sei mo kai baby Eastern region de no nipa be ya du no miensa be nyina beti faako ba kan bom yare no ka ba ko no obi anya se betiti bentem nke bia amanisa enti eno ye very necessary nti so obi aba so a tin stop no say red light say crash and slow pin wachi kakra enye ntokwa ne yeko ye start da bia ncha ne yonkon se ye nyina ya tiase ehia se be kika bobo na ye mfa no nya adwuma ne yare no free so ai kwana yare no fa so etim ba yeso no ba ko ne say se bejira hey yare no bi tarha ba bi na mensa kan peja de komani mpe me ya yare no bi enti wanim yo hena ntiti nya wani fansa nki fa wani pisa Dr. Fra kan say yem pisa yani mfansa nki hena no anya sa ne bi da ba bi no aka ebe kan so don't put your hand in your face mfansa nko wani mkwa afi ba bi bro wa tem bia say disinfect spray do disinfectant. Eso so do ma punum or special officers. Ye wipe ya pu sanitizers ni ade. Bia ampe sanitizer ambere no. Se be ya also punuma obeye sanitizer wonsa. Woku so obeye sade no. Na fei yenya ahoni die papa ya ye adwuma. Afi nya ba ne se we no ambe no. Binum kan nose mask, binum kan face mask, binom ka na chin mask it's a say kata yanim ya no ne ye hwene no ba bia kukuru no da abo betimi afa ho na ye be de dia ba bontene eno de it's a say compulsory mai mesemwa bibi ba ko pa wo hia se yo ne se be she nose mask no nanu ya ansan na wo tue bai memre da no kuda no fie da no nyina unam kroma nipa no bebre ben hyade no sese nyame ya adom yemfa mfira ma no ne ba ye pam ni Ghana ha ya FDA for a register companies bebredu no a obi e pam bi no pam ni fi standard no FDA be ba be kire kwana ye fa so ye yade no se bia benya papa no bi e de ahyena no ni bo anya dine bebre so ni sika kura 1 cedi o 2 cedi o 3 cedi o sro yo se nyan sro bom kakra bi no be sika ko botot anamboa be sika ko botot enti so sika ko Thomas ka eniguase bi anim afa mesre companies no mo adwuma fo no mo aye nua asabe ye ni bi no na yenya bi emfa ntitaria no afa dwamfo ma mesre mo wa wo dwam ha wo ni bi no wa hwe ya na se be ma police fo abakrum esese anyina bi ahye bi driver for ba ka taxi Uber petrol onu meti nyina e company passenger be fro car no ni bi amfa no na ye hwe se sade we ye be ye adwuma omia se we ntini ya police fo akɔkye yonko na odro to prison enye necessary ti enya somre na nia doctor for na say yam kan say bia no nye no mumye ni so because no one say doctor futu a o ye de uwu nti ye adwuma se be ya yare bia ema no sask no bi o hɔ a o hye ba kwa o hye bia ye to twene ni ayeso ye pam ni Ghana ha no ntuma ne de utumi si esane hye tumi si ande hye ho na ni sie num no se so di aduro egu sonum so hye kakra semna kupuko usi no kama uwi afa iron to so ansa no be hye bia ma wa hye bia anje ne yonko de enhye ono de socialism bia ne onum nti o de ya o de to have make sure say o ba o unia o bi de enkofra ne yonko just keep to yours na yomye adwuma na yare no ntumi free so enko megiri se di decide we so a yare na ntre biem ye benya ahoto na huna abaye mu no ne nyina afiri ho ne yatumi akoya sori yatumi ayi yatumi ayi bibia ye pese ye medam wase bebre.
Honorable Minister, thank you for your presentation. Charity, you are on gloves, so when you finish, just take the sanitizer to him and then let him, because he was touching with you all over, even during his presentation. But Honorable Minister, thank you for your presentation, passion with which you make the case that we need to observe personal preventive etiquette. It is a third layer that protects us. The first one is the closure of the borders. The President has done that for us. The second is the restrictions on gatherings. Whether it's schools or social or religious gatherings, the President has, by executive instrument, done that part for us. The third layer, which we have to do for ourselves, is the personal preventive etiquette. As Minister has been explaining, we're observing that there are some that are still refusing to protect themselves even after the state has done the fair for us. And that's why we're spending time to make that case this morning. Now, aligned to that is the specific subject of the masks, the nose mask or the face masks. I don't like calling it the chin mask because there are those who just put it under their chin like this. They are wearing a mask. If you do this, you are not wearing a mask. It is supposed to cover both your nostrils and your mouth, because those are the two principal areas of entry of this virus into your system, in addition to your eyes. So it's not a chin mask, it's a nose and a mouth mask, which some describe as a face mask. I want to invite Dr. Boajedosta for the next about 5 to 7 minutes to take us through the guidelines on the wearing of the masks, and then I will invite Mrs. Mimi Datson of the Food Drugs Authority to just share with us some small guidelines for those also making their masks at home. What is allowed, what is not allowed, what is helpful, not helpful. We're spending time to deal with this in the first part of our brief because the state is doing the first two, closing the borders, imposing restrictions. The third one is our responsibility, which is observing the personal preventive etiquette, including the wearing of masks. Dr. Costa, we have some 5 to 7 minutes. Please join me.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. All protocols observed, but my health minister has done extremely well by educating us on masks. Now, following the President's directive of the wearing of the face masks, the Minister of Health, by the Public Health Act, also made this mandatory. And we from the communication unit, together with FDA and all some stakeholders, came up with a national guidelines for institutions and organizations to follow. So I'll be taking us through, actually I'll be providing some education, then I'll take us through some of the benefits and which institutions or individuals that are supposed to wear the masks, the do's and the don'ts of wearing the masks. So if we say a mask, one will ask, what is a mask? It is a face, it is an accessory that you wear over your face to help prevent the spread of the virus or other germs. So in this case, we do have types of masks. We have the disposable and the surgical and medical masks. We have the N95 and we have the cloth mask. Now, my minister made a very important point, which I want to stress. Wearing of the mask is not to replace preventive measures or the social distancing. It is actually to support it. So it means that we are to wear the mask, observe the social distancing, and also for the preventive etiquettes like washing of hands with soap and running water. When sneezing and coughing, you use tissue to cover your mouth. Then disposal of the tissue is also very important. So you dispose it in a bin and you cover it appropriately. Now, let's look at the benefits of using a face mask. There is evidence to show that using a face mask can slow the spread of coronavirus. In our context, it is cheap, and the FDA has actually come up with companies that are producing. The mask protects us all, since there may be people in the community with the virus who are not showing any signs. Now, we certainly know that even from our positive cases, some are not showing symptoms. So it is very, very important to wear the mask. The mask also helps to reduce stigma. Why? Because we are all wearing the mask. So there is nothing like segregation or discrimination. We are all wearing the mask. Now, let's look at wearing the mask itself. To offer effective protection against COVID-19, masks must be used in combination with frequent hand washing with soap under running water, use alcohol-based hand sanitizer, and physical distancing. They must be worn properly and frequently. Do not try masks on when you are buying it. It is very important not to try masks on when you are buying it. Do not take off masks when you are talking. When you are drinking or eating, remove the mask appropriately and wear it afterwards correctly. Now, I'll take you through the procedures of wearing the mask, which is very important. First, you wash your hands with soap under running water, or you use alcohol-based sanitizer. After you finish that first step, you place the mask over the bridge of your nose. Then you fit tightly but comfortably against the side of the face. Then place elastic bands behind your ears or tie the ropes around your head. So you stretch the mask downwards, you stretch it downwards to cover your chin. Allow for breathing without restriction. Avoid touching the front of the mask because it is already, when you talk, it contaminates. So you do not have to touch it. So replace the mask with a new one as soon as it is wet and wash after use. Remember, using a mask is only effective if proper hand washing and social distancing is ensured. Now let's look at how to remove the mask. Again, you clean your hands with soap under running water, or you sanitize your hand with alcohol-based sanitizer. Only touch the ear loop or ties or the band, these ones. Then remove the elastic band, or if it is the one that the rope, you unite it from behind and remove it. Now, how do we care for the masks? The cloth masks. Cloth masks should be routinely washed depending on the frequency of use. Immediately cloth mask is removed, put it in a bowl of warm, soapy water. Wash it well until clean, rinsed under running water, and dry the mask in an open sun. Then once it is dry, iron the mask and sit in a plastic bag ready for use. If you notice any damage or change shape, it is time to change it. Now let's look at the surgical and the N95, how to dispose the mask. Dispose of all used masks immediately in a closed bin or burn it in a safe place. Wash hands with soap under running water, or rub with an alcohol-based sanitizer. Let's look at some points. Do not use the same mask for more than 12 hours at a time. This if it is a surgical or N95. Do not use single surgical mask or N95 more than 8 hours. So that is for the use, the procedure for wearing, moving, and disposal of the mask. Now let's look at the mandatory use of the mask and what we expect companies and organizations to do. Following the public health directive by the health minister, it is now mandatory for organizations to make sure that their staff do wear the masks in confined places, and also obviously regardless, the world will open up. So we are also thinking aloud. So for workplaces, we are saying, for example, all health workers, including temporary workers and patients attending a health facility such as clinic, hospitals, and pharmacies will have to wear the masks. All public sector workers, including temporary workers and visitors visiting public sector offices, will have to wear the mask. All private sector workers, including temporary workers and visitors visiting such facilities, will have to wear a mask. We are saying that all persons in public and commercial centers and facilities and buildings will have to wear a mask. All frontline media staff and people visiting media premises, including reporters in confined offices or studios, will have to wear a mask. For schools, we are saying that all teachers, lecturers, and workers in universities, colleges, and other tertiary institutions will have to wear a mask. All people, students, and all staff in primary, junior, and secondary high schools will have to wear a mask. All students and staff in vocational and all other training institutions will have to wear a mask. We have one for public transport. All commercial vehicle drivers and attendants and passengers on all forms of public transport, including transport operators, passengers, that's the buses, VIPs, state transport, GPRTU, they will have to wear the mask as well as observe the social distancing. And they will also have to provide in buses a polythene bag so that when someone sneezes and coughs, the tissue will be disposed in that bag. So for minibuses, truck drivers and mates and passengers, for taxis and other vehicle operators such as Uber, Bolt, Yango, and the others, for truck and cargo car drivers and operators, they are all supposed to wear masks. For domestic airlines, all domestic airline staff and passengers on board will have to wear a mask. All airport staff and visitors to the public, to the airport and its offices will have to wear a mask. For marketplaces, hotels and shops, sellers or traders and people going to the market, roadside traders, KIAs, food vendors and sellers, restaurants, spas, bars, workshops, barbers, hairdressers, shopkeepers will have to wear a mask in their daily activities. For churches and mosques, all persons presiding over or attending church services, mosques, or other places of religious worship will have to wear a mask, including the priest. Wearing and removing of the mask, that's what I've done. So I think for that one, I will say that aside the masks and the social distancing, the preventive etiquettes are still very, very important. Thank you.
Sanitizer. Dr. Aboagye Da Costa, thank you for your presentation. And just to put it in context, you would notice that there are some things that he talks about that are under restrictions currently, sporting activities, religious activities. These guidelines have been done generally on the assumption that whether or not these restrictions exist, this is what you have to do when using a mask. So just to be clear, these restrictions have been done on the assumption that whether or not these restrictions exist, these guidelines are populated on the assumption that whether or not the current restrictions exist, this is how you use a face mask or a nose mask. I just want to reiterate that there are 3 levels or 3 layers of protection. First is the closure of the borders. The state has done that. Second is the restriction on gatherings. The state has done that. The third is the personal preventive etiquette, which includes the wearing of the mask. The mask is not a substitute to the personal preventive etiquette. They go together. And Dr. Da Costa and the Ghana Health Service have spent some time giving us the guidelines. We're going to post these guidelines on the Ghana Health Service website and on the Ministry of Information website, as well as the platform. So colleagues in the media can help us to do some more dedicated public education on the wearing and the using of masks as part of the preventive etiquette, not as a substitute, but as part of the preventive etiquette. Now, as was mentioned, you can also make your own masks at home. What are the guidelines you have to observe? Very quickly, Mrs. Mimidan Sin is here. She's Chief Executive of the Food and Drugs Authority. She will share with us some remarks. Maybe let them sanitize my podium and then you can join us. When she's done, we'll talk about testing. How far have we come with our backlog? What's the latest on the RDT options? And how are we going to get some daily numbers, in addition to our management and other related matters?
Thank you very much. The FDA has actually developed standards for different types of masks. These include the normal face mask. We even have surgical masks, and we even have an N95 quality. So some of the ones that the local manufacturers are manufacturing actually N95 quality. We developed the requirements with the Ghana Standards Authority, and you find these on both our website and the Ghana Standards Authority website. Currently, we registered over 41 manufacturers of face masks as at yesterday, and this excludes even the bulk ones that were done by the Ministry of Trade, which have been supplied to various ministries. Yesterday, we also met with the Garment Association, the executives of the Garment Association, to ensure that they can also disseminate this information to all the seamstresses who are part of that association. I know people would like to make their mask at home, and what we say is that when you make a reusable mask at home, you may give some to your friends, you may make it for your family. Make sure you are doing it in a clean environment. Make sure that whatever fabric you decide to use, you will stick to that fabric after you have brought it to us to test, and would prefer it if you brought it to us to test, ensure that the performance is good. And that whoever is sewing the mask, make sure that you yourself are dressed properly. You cover your nose, you make sure that you wash and sanitize your hands before you start sewing. You don't want that contaminated before you even give it out. When you come to the FDA, we normally say, please bring the mask to us test, but maybe you can't. So what we do test at the FDA is that ensure that you can breathe through the mask. I'm sure people have heard that when I wear the mask, I cannot breathe, and you've read on social media. Please, you can breathe. If you wear a good mask and a mask that has been made properly, you can wear it for the number of hours and you can still breathe. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. Normally, we prefer that you make it out of plain fabric. And the fabric you use should be cotton or any cotton derivative, calico, etc. I know people may want to put designs on their masks. That's acceptable. What we say is, I have one here, that we use the old FDA cloth. If you put a design on it, please make sure that the part of the mask that is on your face is plain. So you have the design in front, and then inside is plain. And make sure that the material that you use for the inside of the mask is soft to the face. You don't want people taking off their mask because they are uncomfortable. What we require is that the mask should have 3 layers. So you have the outer layer that you want, you have an inner layer. We normally require maybe a medium stiffener, fabric stiffener, or a soft fabric stiffener, since it's just a face mask house. And then the inside is the plain material, because some of the fabric have dyes. And normally you are not sure which fabric has a dye. You don't want to be inhaling the fumes of a dye all the time. That's why we insist that the mask should have a plain inner layer. When you make the mask, it is actually advisable to have it pleated, because for that, when it's pleated, when you open it out and you put it on, it goes under the chin. If you can't have it pleated, I've seen many types too that fit snugly over the nose and over the chin. Don't just do a square mask so that there are holes under. If you have a face like mine that is small, the mask will not fit you, and then they become useless to you. We've talked about the number of layers, either 3 fabric layers, so your outer one could be your print, and 2 other fabric layers, or 2 fabric layers, not plain, outer can be print, and in the middle you have a stiff. The reason is that if you are talking to somebody, there's always vapor, water droplets. It hits the first layer, gets slowed down, it hits the second layer, and then before it can get to you. That's why we recommend that you have 3 layers, or you have 2 layers and the stiff inside. It's just to actually slow down the rate of the particles touching your face. FDA is in all regions. These requirements are on our website, they're on our social media handles as well. We'll put them on the government social media handles. GSA has also put out the public available specifications also on their website. And if you have any question about nose masks, we are in every region. You can reach us also by phone or by WhatsApp and we're on Facebook to answer your questions, and we'll be there to answer them if you need them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mimi. Because we will be releasing videos that demonstrate how to wear, how to take off, how to dispose of these masks in various languages on the Ministry of Information social media handles. You notice that now, for example, the president's speeches, etc., we release them in other languages on the handles. So please expect the videos that demonstrate the things we've spoken about today on the social media handles. I quickly want to invite the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. Before I get to Noguchi on testing matters, Ghana Health is going to give us a quick update on case count, case management, and also other health conditions that are being managed at this point in time and how they are faring. When they are done, I'll quickly invite Presidential Advisor on Health, Dr. Nsia Sari, to give us a quick update on how much more we know about the dynamics of the virus here in Ghana. Remember, we've said that this is a science and data-driven exercise. We've tried to learn and know as much as possible to inform our decision-making, and he'll give us an update on how much we know currently about that. Dr. Patrick Aboagye.
Thank you very much, and good morning. I also stand on existing protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, as at now, we have recorded 2,019 cases across the country. This covers all the cases that was diagnosed since the first case was identified on the 12th of March. Since the last updates, we've had an increase of about 550 cases, and this has come out of about near 18,000 tests conducted in the last few days over the weekend, wiping out the entire backlog in Noguchi. 480 of these cases has come from 24 districts out of the 26 districts in Greater Accra. And they have come mainly from Tema, which entered about 169, Accra Metro 43, and Ashaman 41. The rest of the country presented 70 new cases. Out of these total cases, 919 have been identified from the routine surveillance, that is the people who come with symptoms and report to our facility or recall. 1,685 have been identified through the enhanced contact tracing that has been done nationwide, especially in Ashanti and Accra. The cases of quarantine which have been reported earlier still remains 115. How do they present? About 2,402, that is representing about 93.2% of the cases, are either asymptomatic or come with very mild conditions. 7 are the ones that come with moderate to severe conditions. Currently, 5 have moderate conditions, nobody is critical, and nobody is on intensive care units as we speak today. Unfortunately, about 18 persons who, in addition for having COVID-19, had underlying conditions, have died. This gives us a relatively low death rate of about 0.66%. This compared to other countries in our area, we have countries like Cameroon reporting about 3.4% death rate, Nigeria 2.9% death rate. It is worth noting that at the same period, we have recorded deaths from other diseases, such as 40 cases from CSM in one region, 54 children have died from malaria at the same period. Currently, we have about 294 of the patients who have recovered after testing negative on 2 consecutive times, and we currently have more than 200 patients awaiting their second negative test so that they can also be declared recovered on discharge. One of the key areas of intervention is isolation, where people who are positive who have symptomatic and do not have any underlying conditions are managed at home or sent to an isolation center. Currently, for isolation center, we have 453 tents across the country in the various isolation centers. 339 are in Accra. We have 85 in Eastern Region and about 9 in Ashanti. Others have a few numbers isolated currently. Last week, we want to thank UNP also donated some toiletries and T-shirts for the inmates at the place. So in all this, what is the risk? This 2,719 has come out of our 129,461 tests. 30,039 persons who have tested routine surveillance, out of which 91 cases were confirmed positive with a positivity rate of 2.98%. Of the 98,600 persons who have been tested from the enhanced contact tracing, 1,685 have confirmed positive, giving us a positivity rate of 1.71%. In all, as stated earlier, we have about 129,461 persons. 0.01%. This is the national picture. In the regions, we've had Eastern reporting 94 cases. After the last month, it was 87, and they had an increase of 7. Central region had moved from 21 to 38. Most of them have come from Kaswa, from the enhanced contact training, and we have some from Ankafo and Cape Coast. Western region had moved from 9 to 21. Mainly from Sakuradi, Sekendi, from Sekendi and Takoradi and Azim and Takwa from enhanced surveillance services. Upper West moved from 10 to 19, Volta 16 to 30, and Levino contacts came from Ketu South, 4 cases from contact tracing of positive cases that were positive cases. Ashanti had an increase of 7, having moved from 117 to 124, and the region, Northern, Upper East and Northeast did not make any new cases as at the last presentation, so they remain 19, 13, and 2 respectively. OT moved from 19 to 23, increasing by 4, and these are all coming from Kwanta North, and the West North also did not represent any case. So this comes to the total of the 550 that had been increased from the last time we presented the state of the position on COVID numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, the nature of this disease says that it has a high infection rate but low death. What it means is that this disease may stay with us, as the minister said, and that we need to be ready until we discover we have an effective vaccine. This disease is going to be with us. Despite all these seemingly high figures, which we actually searched for, to be able to isolate and contain, the infection rate in this country remains low in comparison of other countries, as I mentioned it. This tells us that the measures that we have put in place, that you have also abided with, has served as well. The disease has started affecting other sectors, and including the health sector. At the last quarter of our review, we have had immunization services coming down. We've had growth promotion of children coming down, antenatal and outpatient attendances are declining. If this goes on, it will have consequential effect on health outcomes in the end. Measures have been put in place that allow us to be able to provide services for you in safety, safeguarding you, so encouraging all to make access care so that we do not have another challenge on our hands because of reduced access to care. What it means is that people who are sick may not be seeking care. That is not what we want. Institutionalizing adhering to these key measures, which we'll say from the minister and all other speakers from is the new norm, such as hand hygiene, social and physical distancing, wear of masks and proper sanitation. Even without the current restrictions, must be institutionalized and maintained if you are going to contain this disease. By doing this, not only to contain COVID-19, we prevent diarrheal diseases and other emerging diseases which all are transmitted through the same methodology. What we want to say is that being COVID-19 positive is not equivalent to death, as people perceive. And so let's try and work against stigma, encourage all people to be tested and avail themselves to be isolated and contained. I want to end this by sharing express appreciation to all the individuals and corporate bodies who have supported the health sector and the country in this response. Thank you very much.
Dr. Patrick Kuma Abwaji, Director General, Ghana Health Service, give for that update. I want to reiterate just about three things. First of all, if you followed Dr. Abwaji Dakosa's presentation, we're asking that all public offices, buildings, public transport institute a no mask, no entry policy. All public offices, buildings, public transport, public places introduce a no mask, no entry policy. The reason is that is doing it for us. The third level, we need a higher level of public compliance for it to be successful. That third level is the utilization of the masks. And to do that, the education being provided, as I've mentioned, which is the second point, the videos that are demonstrating it will be made available, but we need you to help us so that it works. If only 3 people are wearing the mask, it won't achieve much effect. But if the majority of the population is wearing the mask, then it achieves the effect. One of the ways to do that is that all of you out there, and all of us here, all who manage public places, whether these restrictions, the current restrictions exist or not, as was rightly mentioned, we have to ensure that we impose this no mask, no entry policy. Very finally, in the numbers you gave us, assuming we're still using the old model that other parts of the world are using, general surveillance model, what will be our numbers by now? In the numbers that you gave us, general surveillance as of now is what? 919. So if we're using the old model where we were sitting and waiting and saying, if you have symptoms, come, we'll be in the Ghana's case count is at 919. But because of the enhanced surveillance that we have done, today our numbers are 2,719. The difference is what is being found out in the early surveillance numbers. That means that you find them mostly when they are asymptomatic, they don't need hospitals, etc. You can give them supportive treatment, and then we can have a higher recovery rate. Okay, so we move into 2 final areas, and then we'll do the Q&A. Where are we on testing? Do we still have a backlog? When are we going to add this backlog and begin to have a sense of some daily numbers? Professor William Ampofo, head of virology at Noguchi and coordinating our testing program, is here. Prof, please join me. 3 things. What's the status of the clearing of the backlogs? Do you have an update on gas RDT options? And when can we start getting some daily test numbers? Your podium.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Minister. With regards to the backlog, so I just cross-checked with Professor Richard Phillips of KCCR, and he has 1,982 samples awaiting testing. It was 3,500 yesterday, so they worked all night, and he expects that by Thursday, backlog will be done. Noguchi, we have no backlog. There are 0 samples awaiting testing. So, as Minister said, we should be able to provide results within 24 hours back to the Ghana Health Service when samples are received from contact tracing and also from hospital surveillance. We have expanded testing beyond Accra and Kumasi. There is testing, as you heard previously. There's limited testing in Ho at the University of Allied Health Sciences. We're expecting a donation from the International Atomic Agency through the Ministry of Health. We hope that by next week this will be fully established, and therefore they'll be able to increase testing in Ho for the Volta region and also the OT region. As I speak, Tamale has testing established. This is at the Public Health Lab at the Tamale Teaching Hospital, and also the Veterinary Services Directorate Lab at Pong Tamale. So we also have testing covering the northern regions now available. We hope that we'll be able to get the War Memorial Hospital also testing as soon as possible. Then we currently have, as I speak, we have testing being established in the western region at the Veterinary Services Directorate Laboratory in Takoradi. This is being done in conjunction with the Public Health Lab at the Efia-Kwanta Hospital. So it's a joint effort, One Health approach being practiced directly between the Ghana Health Service and the Veterinary Service Directorate. So that is being established, right now, and we think that by tomorrow they will also start testing in Takoradi, and that will cover the western region. We're also going to utilize the Gene Expert system, which is prevalent in almost all the health, every region of Ghana. There are specific centers that have Gene Expert machine for TB, and there's a test that has developed for COVID-19. We're hoping that by the end of next week, there will be these cassettes and also tests for COVID-19, and we hope to roll out testing in these facilities to complement the PCR stations that have been established. So by the end of May, we will have virtually every region be able to test for COVID-19. And the Ghana Health Service and the Ministry of Health will determine the actual strategy for testing that these sites will provide, in the response towards COVID-19. On the issue of the rapid diagnostic tests, as you heard from the FDA, both the guidelines have been put on the FDA site. Some suppliers have submitted their RDTs for evaluation. Evaluation is currently underway, and the reports will be finalized and returned to the FDA. The suppliers will be notified accordingly. The Ministry of Health and the Ghana Health Service will then come up with appropriate guidelines that utilize the RDTs for surveillance. The PCR will remain for clinical diagnosis, and then we'll be able to fashion out the appropriate approach to use these RDs alongside the PCR, which is direct detection of the virus. I think you've heard that there's been a local development where the KNUST has developed the RDT. This is being submitted through the FDA, and as soon as results are available through the FDA, KNUST will be informed, and we'll decide how we proceed further with locally available RDTs. I think that's all I have to say. Thank you, Minister.
Prof, don't worry, I won't charge you for the sanitizer. I won't charge you for it. But just to be clear, with the exemption of the 1,982 backlog samples at KCCR, we are now at a point where we can safely say that we have cleared a backlog of samples. Ballpark figure, how many tests have we done so far, leaving out this 1,982? About 130,000 tests so far. Just an outstanding backlog of about 1,982 to complete. About 2,000, let's say a ballpark of about 2,000. And once that is done, then it means we've cleared the backlog. And we're expecting this to be done by Thursday, you say? So that from Thursday onwards, we'll begin to have a 24-hour rolling database. That gives us an idea of what the daily infection rates, etc., that are being covered are. That's number one. Number two, the RDT options are being worked on by FDA, and when they are done, they will put out the guidelines. I think that captures the key set of views that we've discussed here. Thank you, Prof. Now to the very final brief, Dr. Nsiah-Asare. So after about 130,000 tests, infection rates still under 2%, positivity rates still under 2%. Looking at your morbidity rates, your mortality rates, what do we know so far about this COVID-19 as it is playing out in Ghana? And as the minister is telling us, we should make up our minds that the virus will be in the world for a while, but it is lifestyle change that we need to focus a lot more attention on. How is what we are learning fitting into all of that? So, Dr. Nsiah, please join us with a quick update on that. Let us have our podium sanitized. And then, colleagues, we'll take your questions. For those who are not here because of social distancing and have questions, you can put them on the platform, and then we'll take the questions as well. Thank you.
Mr. Minister, Dr. Waji, the Director General, has given us figures. Normally, when the figures come, everybody will shout. Ghana has added 503, 530 positive tests. But it's all because what we are doing is all because of the hard work of our frontline workers. Especially when I sleep, I pray for those who are in the labs. To do 130,000 tests within the short period of about 8 weeks. Of only, initially there were 2 labs, but now we have 4 labs, Prof, isn't it? So we should encourage them. In fact, we should do what the countries do, that maybe at every 4 o'clock we all come out and clap for about 5 minutes for them. This is what people are breaking their backs to do 24 hours a day. They are all working 24 hours a day. And this is the good thing that they are doing for Mother Ghana. I'll go straight away to what we have seen after testing 180,000 people. What is the dynamics like? What is the mortality rate like? What is the morbidity rate like? So what is the case for Ghana? And I'll go through by telling you, Dr. Waji has told you that we have 2,719 positive cases. We have tested 130,502 cases, that's including the monthly quarantine of 1,041. So what it means that our positivity rate is 2.01%. If you look at the number of deaths, it's 18. So our figures for Africa and also for the whole world. I'll quickly tell, for example, as at 4th of May, that's yesterday, Spain had 218,435 positive cases. Out of that, 24,543 people have lost lives, which makes the mortality rate 15.63%. UK had 71,257 positive cases and 26,771 have lost their lives. Their positivity rate is Spain's positivity rate is 10.5%. UK is about 15.13%. US, the mighty US, has 1,035,353 cases and 55,337 deaths, which means that their positivity rate is about 5.34%. If you come to Africa, South Africa, who is also tested, South Africa has tested nearly about 150 or 160,000. After South Africa, we are the next who have tested in raw numbers, more than anybody in Africa. South Africa has 6,336 positive cases, and 123 have lost their lives, which means positivity rate 1.94%. Algeria had 4,295, and 459 have lost their lives, so the positivity rate is 10.69%. Nigeria has 2,388 and 85 lost their lives, so positivity rate is about 3.6%. Ghana had 2,719 and 18 have lost their life, so the the mortality rate for Ghana is 0.6%, less than 1%. If you look at all countries, in fact, the only country who have tested, and I'm sure they've tested only very few patients, that's Rwanda. We don't know whether they've tested. They have 259 and they have no death. And then if you look at a country like Liberia, they've tested 158 positive cases, 18, so their positivity rate is 11.4%. Their mortality rate, their mortality rate is 11.4%. All this I'm talking about mortality rate. Ghana's mortality rate is 0.66%. So if you look at it, Kenya has tested 466 positive cases, 24 deaths, so their death rate is 5.15%. So if you look at the dynamics, it means Ghana, in Africa, and almost in the whole world, we have one of the lowest, according to the number of tests that we have done, because we have done a lot of tests. In fact, if you don't do any tests, you won't see any positive case. There's a country who said that he hasn't done any tests. I think it was before, Malawi. And they asked why. Say because they haven't tested anybody. So what it means is that in Ghana, the dynamics of disease is quite different, even from the whole of the African sub-region. And for the whole world, our dynamics is quite different. That is because of the good measures that we put in place at the initial stages from the 15th of March till date. If you have realized, we put in limitation so that we close the border, then put in limitations, and we put in things like social distancing, we put in things like washing hands and running soap, use of sanitizer, and making sure that all social gatherings are also banned for some time. And this has given us these very good results. So the dynamics from the figures that we have is quite different from what we are seeing in other countries. It doesn't mean that we are out of the doom. If you don't continue the things that have been put in place by the leadership of this country, then it means you may go back to where the other people also are. We will continue, as the president has already been saying, we will continue to work with science and data. So from the science and data that we've seen, we've realized that the dynamics is quite different from other countries, both the West Africa, Africa, sub-region, and also in the whole world. So what the minister said initially is something that we all have to abide by. If you want to be your brother or your sister's neighbor, don't go out without wearing masks. If you have nothing to do at all, don't go out. You may be in this situation that we are strong, you can have the positive case, but you will not be sick. And if you look at even the number you have, those who are well and responding to treatment, out of the 2,719, 88% of those people are well and responding to treatment, either in the facilities or in isolation or at home. Somebody will ask, why is it that we have slow recovery and discharge patients? That is something we are doing in process. If you look at it, if you look at the first few cases that we have, some of them are not in the country, but I'm sure they are all recovered and discharged at wherever they are. We are gathering all these figures, and very soon we shall tell you how many people have been discharged or recovered don't have the virus and has been discharged. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the dynamics of the case in Ghana. It doesn't mean that we are out of the doom. It means that we have to continue what measures we have put in place. Luckily, everybody now, a lot of people are wearing masks, which even fits the dress that they are wearing. So it's kind of a fashion show. So it has become one of our norms. It's been something that we have to live with for some time. Because the virus, as everybody is saying, it's like any of the coronavirus, like H1N1, H2N3, and all these things. We shall live with it. But what it means in Ghana is that we are lucky. We took a lot of measures early enough. So we should be very grateful to the Commander-in-Chief, the Excellency, the President, for putting in these measures, which had a lot of social and economic problems. But he took it. And we should all be part of the measure that we've taken. The fight against coronavirus is not for one individual. It's a corporate, and all of us have to join the fight. And if you join the fight, we may be going along this direction, and the dynamics may not change, but it all depends on you and me. So that's the message I want to give to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nsia Sari. He is the advisor on health at the Office of the President. And if it's my understanding, please correct me if my understanding is correct, that We have a low mortality, that's 0.66%, and it is also attributed to the fact that we decided to do an enhanced tracing program, find people who are not even manifesting sickness, support them early so that they don't have to need hospital beds, ventilators, and potentially pass on. That aspect of the strategy, which many other countries are still not using, of an enhanced testing program, are still doing general surveillance, is being key in delivering the kind of results. And we're hoping that if we get people to comply, particularly with the preventive etiquette, we should not have a change in the dynamics of the virus. Am I correct, sir?
Yes, maybe let me add one thing. You see, this what you have been doing is now what some other countries, big countries like UK and the US are now trying to do. Now US is now going out to trace, test, and isolate. But we saw the light as far back as 5th of March. So that's the fire. And to make sure that people are taken out when they are tested. So the beauty that we trace, we test, and isolate, and then treat. So if you do that, it means you are taking the positive out of the system. You can keep them for 2 weeks, give them treatment, and then when you test them and they are negative, you release them. So after some time, there's no positive case to infect somebody else. There will be isolated cases, maybe somebody who has come in, especially when the borders are open and somebody gets in. So this is what Ghana is doing. That's the story of Ghana. That's the story of a lot of countries who are out of the doom. For example, Japan. For example, Korea. In Germany. Singapore. And this is the best practice that Ghana. People will come very soon to learn from us.
Doc, thank you. Colleagues, getting ready for your questions. We want to wrap this up in the next about 20 minutes. Some bit of information I want to give you just to get ready for our questions. Let's set up the microphone for the questions. On Friday, April 4, 2020, President Akufo-Addo, as part of the COVID-19 response program, engaged with the leadership of Media Ghana. The group comprised the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association, the Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, the National Media Commission, and the directors of state-owned media, as well as the leadership of the Ghana Journalists Association. Mr. President thanked them for their invaluable contribution, requested them to dedicate more time for experts to lead the conversations and analysis, and engage them on some of their challenges. One of two requests that was made was a request to support frontline media workers with personal protective equipment. Subsequently, the government of Ghana, acting through ministries of health and information, has availed personal protective equipment to be distributed to frontline media workers to assist their work. We have made available, as from today, approximately 5,000 pieces of personal protective equipment. The package will be delivered to the aforementioned groups, that is GJA, Primpag, NMC, and the leadership of state media, for onward distribution to those who they consider frontline media workers, since they are best placed to identify them. And is hopeful that this will augment your supplies and assist you as you rise to this national call at this moment. And we thank you for your service. Honorable Deputy Minister for Information, the Honorable Nana Amadou Kwesi will be doing that presentation to the leadership of these media that I've mentioned, hopefully later today. We have room to take your questions. Please, let's see you. We'll take them in batches of three. Duke, GNA, TV3, and then you're from TV Africa. So take the first three. Duke, you can come forward and then we'll take a second batch.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Selo. I work with TV3. A few things that I want to find out from our leaders here. First of all, they haven't received their doesn't mean that they are negative. That's why they've not. This pandemic and how it is working or reacting in Ghana. I want to find out, have we been able to project that there's a particular level when we get to, we'll say that our health system has been overwhelmed or overstretched, and what is that point? Also, as you mentioned, the president engaged leadership of stakeholders in the media. One of the things he said was to ensure we bring the experts to talk about this pandemic. We are
hold on. He didn't say we should bring only the experts. He said we should make more room for experts to do the analysis and the discussions. Let's go on. Yeah.
So we have seen what I would call the politicization of this pandemic. So I want to know what is government's reaction to this politicization of the pandemic. Thank you.
That's from Salom, TV3. Yes, sir.
My name is Bill Bennett, and I work with Top Radio and TV, also correspond for TV Africa.
Bennett?
Yes.
Okay.
Also correspond for TV Africa Network, United States and Hawaii. My question starts with the Ghana Health Service. I had found out last week, according to the U.S. Army High Level Biosecurity Laboratory at Fort District, on last Thursday, that was April 23rd, there was a research that said that the temperature or the climatic temperatures from a region of 75 degrees Fahrenheit with humidity of 20% or over does curb spread of coronavirus. Could that be, this could also be a question, Dr. Nsiah-Sarri. Could that be a plausible cause for our spreading being limited and we not getting so high mortality rate compared to other countries?
Very quickly, where is this research coming from?
This is coming from the United States Army. This was done last Thursday, 23rd of April, from the U.S. Army High Level Biosecurity Laboratory in Fort Detrick. This was the day that their bleach and
very well.
Very well. The second question has to do with testing. I'd like to find out from the Ghana Health Services. People send their sons to Noguchi and KCCR. Various times that after treatment and isolation, we test them for a second count. Do we do the same for the left and do for the right? If that's the case,
when you say left for the right,
that the initial stages when the samples are collected, do we just do one test?
So when a sample tests positive, do we test it again to validate the initial positive test?
Yes.
As we do to validate a negative test. Okay.
And the reason behind it is that, as we heard, Tanzania has recalled that their test kits...
I get your point totally. Solid. Duke, where are you? Yes, please step forward. Solid question. Duke, let's hear you.
Ms. Duke, CTFM, CTTV. First question has to do with the numbers that we have, the data that we've been able to organize and analyze so far. All over, we hear the scientists, the epidemiologists talk about a bell-shaped curve. From the data that we've analyzed since we first recorded the case March of up till now, where are we on that curve? Are we reaching our peak? Have we reached our peak? Are we reaching there any soon? When should we project that the numbers will start coming down? Secondly, when the president announced, in fact the health minister also talked about it, the local production of PPEs, there was an estimation of production of about 150,000 face masks in a day. I mean, that's our production capacity. Have we reached that? And is there a plan by government to distribute, especially face masks, which is now going to be an essential to the poorest of the poor, especially looking at the challenges that the country faced during the lockdown and the distribution of food and all the issues that came up with that? Thank you.
Okay. So we'll take these first questions and then we'll go for a second batch. The question of the curve, And as we've mentioned in times past, different curves that they talk about, the death curve, the hospitalization curve, etc. They didn't quite tell us which of the curves you're talking about, but I'll refer that question to Dr. Nsiase. Is Ghana looking at a curve, and what sort of numbers will determine where we are in terms of those curve matters? So I should go to Dr. Bedisa here rather. Okay, Dr. Bedisa Akode, I'll come to you to deal with that one. Question of testing, I'll go to Professor Ampofo. Do we do double negative tests, especially as some countries are raising questions about test kits and the reliability on those test kits? Then maybe I'll come to some claims that high temperatures and high levels of humidity. Do we make of that one? Do we want to be happy about that, or is it something we are not looking at? We are looking strictly at the science that we are dealing with. Selim has a question. Persons who have offered samples and have not heard back after about 2 weeks, should they assume they are negative? So, Dr. Boakye, I'll give that question to you. What will it mean for our health systems to be overwhelmed? Dr. Boakye, again, I'll give that question to you. And then let me take this about politicization of the pandemic. And I'll leave the rest to my colleagues. And I'll take it from this point. Appreciate some of the recent calls we are hearing for a de-escalation of the growing politicization of the COVID-19 pandemic and the response program Ghana is putting out. We appreciate the recent calls for a de-escalation of the growing politicization. These calls are, if you recall, with calls that we started making right here from this podium about a month ago, that it is important for the country to remain focused on the common enemy. The president has been making it in his speeches. We have to focus on the common enemy, that's COVID-19, and not on one another. Initially, when we started making these calls for an apolitical discussion of the subject, and for us to create more room for the experts to do the analysis, we were mocked. You'll recall some of the political leaders were mocking us and making all sorts of comments. At that time, some of the very respected persons who are making these calls for the escalation of politics today, at that time they were very quiet. Because as it is, their political leaders and their candidates were champions. They were very quiet. Now when political started saying, let us not bring politics into this, let's focus on the common enemy. At the time, some persons were championing a political agenda and they thought it was a mockery for you to even suggest it. Now, in the last about 24 hours or so, when political actors from the government side are also responding politically, now you are hearing people saying, oh, let's de-escalate the politics. The nation, in all honesty, stands a real risk of losing focus and degenerating into partisan political banter, while the real key issue of COVID-19 and managing it is relegated to the background. That's the real risk that we run, where we are going. And this risk, we started, as I mentioned, we started warning a little over a month ago. So it's important that we all not be silent when our candidate is politicizing the matter, only to speak when other people start responding politically. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. Let's be honest in this country. If we don't want politics to matter like we are preaching it, when people start politicizing it, the faith-based groups, the religious leaders, the civil society organizations, the media, get out that this is politics, let's put it aside and focus on the enemy. If you don't, the other side also has politicians. They will start politicizing it, and we will be the collective losers. And so we'll go back to prayer we prayed about a month ago, that let's focus on the common enemy, that's COVID-19, and let's put the politicizing aside. If senior statesmen sit around with their political candidate is politicizing a matter and they choose not to condemn it, religious leaders, civil society groups, everybody sit by, then don't be surprised when political actors from their side also start responding. However, we still have an opportunity to keep our collective focus and to cut out partisanship so that we can win together. And that is that opportunity that we should take at this point in time. That will be my reaction to that question. So let me invite colleagues. Dr. Bedisa Akode, let me start with you. I think I've distributed the questions. Let me start with you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Good morning to all. I have the question on hand, the bell-shaped curve. Where are we? Indeed, the best way to assess this curve, if we are using daily case incidents, that every day, how many cases that we do record, and that put them on a chart, and then clearly you get the caseload being built, you reach a peak, and then you get to your decline, and then finally to zero. The best data for this should be the date of onset for the symptoms. If you don't have that, the next line will be the date that the various people affected, when did they report? So the date that they were seen at the facility. The next to that, which is so very close to the proxy, is the date the sample came. If you look at how Ghana started attacking the virus, waiting not to chase the virus, but then face it directly by doing enhanced contact tracing. There are a lot of people that we tested that were having symptoms. So if we are using the daily case incident with the signs and symptoms, then that will have a challenge. So clearly, the best data that we are using for this bell-shaped curve is the use of data from the date samples were tested. So where we are now, we started having a build. The first confirmed case in the country was on the 12th of March. So then those were from the people that we put together later, those that were put on quarantine. Out of the 1,030, in a short time, we had 115 of them. Those in quarantine at Accra here and also in Tamale. So we realize that with a sharp rise, and now with the cases that we are tested, clearly we seem as a country to be on top of the peak, and we are at a stage to decline. That is the observation now. The declination will depend on how we adhere to the various preventive etiquettes that have been enumerated. We are not off the hook yet, but then if we continue the way we are doing now, adhering to the various social distancing, adhering to the various individual preventive measures, wearing of mask, keeping away a distance from others, hand washing, cough etiquettes, other respiratory etiquettes. These are the things, when we do intensively, will let us come down from where we are. So responding directly to the question, where we are at the peak of the curve, yet to come down. But then the only thing to make us come down by strict adherence to the various preventive etiquettes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. The evidence of heat, high temperature will not transmit the virus, isn't it? So there's a study. Humidity. The study that is well known and also published is that the virus stays in dry, cold atmosphere. That one is known. That's the reason why in air conditioning room we say that the virus will be hanging around before it drops. But for the heat one, maybe somebody is now staying it. But you know, this virus is a new virus. So the dynamics are different. And viruses change they mutate from time to time. So people are now doing a lot of research to find out what is happening. But for heat, I don't know. If it is so, then we are all happy because summer is coming. So summer is also very hot in some places. So we're hoping that if it is true, if that's what the theory is, then we may have no transmission in the areas where the summer has come, and then we will have the transmission, especially the ones we import, going down. They can open our borders, maybe. But quickly to add into what Dr. Sarkodie said, you see, people have been talking about the curve. The curve has different parameters. All what the curve means is that are we having an overwhelmed, overstretched health system? So if you're having so many people going to hospital, then it means that it's going to overstretch the health system. If you have so many people dying, so the vertical axis sometimes is the number of deaths. It can also be number of people who are going to hospital and the number of people who are positive. In Ghana, our health system is not overstretched. As I said, about 88% of the people who are positive are well. As we speak now, for the 2,719, 5 people are in not even critical, moderate. I think as we speak now, they're already on ventilator. So we have realized that Ghana, the people that we see who are sick, who have the virus, or who very, very, very small, most of the people that we go out searching them, they are not sick. That's why sometimes it's very difficult for us to even convince somebody to go to isolation. Because I'm not sick. I just tested positive. I have to go to work. So immediately I'm going to isolation, it means I'm going for 2 weeks and I'm going to maybe lose my income and all sorts of things. Because if somebody is not sick, it's difficult for a person to go to hospital. The most important thing, those deaths I've seen, that's what I explained. Only 3 of them have the positive, and then you may not be able to isolate. For example, a child who died in Kolebu, we are still finding out what the associated factors are. The rest of what we call comorbidity. Comorbidity means that they have other illnesses. So if you are talking about the curve, we have to be very careful what curve we are talking about. I'm sure everybody is quoting Tony Fauci, the curve, but we have to be educated what curve we are talking about, because in Ghana, our health system so far, because of the measures we put in place, have not been overstretched. In Ghana, our health system is in such a way that the mortality rate is 0.66%. Only 18 people have died. Even 1 person died is very important. But if you even look at the number of people who die from malaria, you realize that people are even dying from road traffic accidents and this thing more than the coronavirus. Health system, the number of people who are getting positives, yes, and somebody has explained. I think Dr. Sarkodie explained. Most of the tests that we are seeing, some of them are from a week ago. Luckily, now that the backlog has been cleared, we will then see daily cases coming, and they can then plot a curve. We've also been looking at the figures to see if you can take the day that the sample was taken to also see how many in a week, how many people tested positive. We can also have some bar charts and then see if we have reached the peak or not. But I'm sure that when you do all this, we will then tell you later on whether the peak has been passed or reached. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Abuaji is going to join us with answers from the health service to the questions. And then Professor Ampofo would
thank you very much. I think part of my question has been also answered by Dr. Siansari. That is whether our hospitals are overwhelmed. I think in my presentation I mentioned that of the cases we have, only about 7% present with moderate to severe condition. That will mean that they may need some care. But that, overstretch also depends on your capacity as a country in terms of the number of cases we have. Currently, we are not there. We have not been actually been able to increase that. And our cases on admission remain stable, and sometimes they even decline. Now that many more people are recovering, we are having more people leaving the facility. So that is not an issue that worries us. In terms of people having their samples taken and not getting their results, yes, I think there have been some initial challenges of relaying information back to them. The initial surge was the fact that positive was the main case, so I can assure that anybody who is positive has been looked for. It's possible that those who are not negative are the ones that probably will make strong efforts to reach them, but we've also instructed all our district directors to ensure that anybody they have their results, they must let them know. And so I think the main surge at the initial stage was that we need to identify positives and isolate, and so that may have been the issue. I just want to use this opportunity to also appeal to people that in all this effort, those in isolation, those who don't have any asymptomatic cases, who we have to isolate is a very critical step in our fight. We urge all opinion leaders in the communities to encourage people who are isolated, and until they are isolated, they may transmit it to their neighbors or their friends or their loved ones. So please, we should ensure that we encourage the people. They are taking good care in the isolation centers. They want to make sure they are able to get that. That will finish the proper 3 T's that we are trying to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Mpofu. And then after Professor Mpofu, we'll take a final batch of questions. We have just about 7 minutes to wrap up.
So the question was about whether a positive is single test or a negative single test. Yes, but in that single test is a series of quality control steps that we do. To go back to the kind of sample that is taken. Swab is taken from the throat and the nose. When we have swabs, we were taking 2 samples from the nose and the throat, combining them to make 1 sample. Then we shifted to sputum. So that was the sample that was used. We also at some point used the nasal lavage. We would put saline into the nostril and then blow it out and then add that to swabs. So we've used a combination of samples. The best approach is to have a nasal swab, a throat swab, and sputum all together and then test that. For those who test positive, the protocol is to monitor them and to test after I think about 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. And then you have the first negative test to do another test again within 24 hours or 2 days or 3 days. So 2 consecutive negative tests then enable you to declare the person as having cleared the virus. We do have some situations where people have tested positive, and when the second test has been done, within 10 days, they seem to have cleared the virus. So again, another test is done, and they have been declared as negative for the virus. Now, I have to explain again that this is PCR test. PCR means polymerase chain reaction. So we are looking for the direct presence of the virus. So we use a couple of, what we call a molecular method to amplify the smallest material of the virus to see if it is present in the person. So the quality of the sample also has a bearing on the outcome of the test. So I hope that is clear. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take a final batch, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the final batch, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's be very quick, because our colleagues have to cut feed and go for their midday news bulletin. So let's be very quick. And then we have questions on the platform. Let's take them quickly. Social distancing observed. Questions on the platform. Let's be quick.
In Ghana, many people die who don't have autopsies carried out to determine the cause of death. Our Muslim brothers and sisters bury their dead within a matter of hours. If so, if some deaths go unreported, how do we know whether or not they are related to COVID-19? How many frontline workers have been infected with COVID-19? There's another question that says, please, will the government go in for the herbal medicine the Madagascar government says cure COVID-19? And then there's a final one which says the production of face masks has been localized with informal economic actors being very active. Who is monitoring to ensure quality? Thank you.
Mimi, I'll give you the question on monitoring of quality for those who are doing home-based production. Madagascar treatment, are we looking at it? Tabwaje, it's a case management question. How many frontline workers? That's also a refer to Ghana Health Service. And the first question about autopsies, again, I'll bring to you. And are you worried about the fact that there could be persons who don't report but pass on, and how does that affect this? Very quickly, these final questions. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. So we talk about stigmatization, and we've been advised to educate the public to stop it. Some have said that the way the whole pandemic has been handled has been the cause, because it's like at the initial stages there was some level of secrecy and they didn't want people to know who's been positive and all of that. So I want to find out. Yesterday, for instance, we were told some people have been declared negative at Kolebu, and they were asked to go out and be ambassadors. Are we going to change the strategy so that if somebody is positive and it's a known person, we can let that person do a video and tell us like they did in the forest.
Will the state be mandatorily naming positive cases? No. Will we stop somebody who has a positive record from openly announcing it? No.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then apart from that, when you look at the map on the Ghana Health Service website, it looks like across over 2,000 cases is situated around Ghana. Because of the isolation center at Gas, that's why.
Is the data on the map, I have to be very careful with our questions so that we don't create a wrong impression. Is the data on the map talk about where the patients are currently, or is it about where the samples were picked from? Yes. Thank you. Colleagues, let's keep the questions tight and straight to the point so that we can answer.
I'm Guma from GH1 TV. I'll make my question very brief. So our smacks, after we've used and disposed them, how are they completely disposed? Where did they end up? That's my question.
Which one?
Our smacks. Yes, after we have used and disposed it, where do they end up? How are they completely disposed of?
I don't understand the question. As in like surgical ones, the ones used in the hospitals,
yes,
or yours?
And also mine, after I've disposed it.
After you have disposed of your mask?
Yes. Where does it end up? Comparing it to plastic waste.
Okay. As in, does it just form part of the normal risk chain?
Or there
and could it have consequences? I think I understand you now. Who will deal with that one for us? Okay. Thank you very much. I think I now get your question. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Maxwell. I work with Joy News. I'm quite excited that we're able to clear the backlog at KCCR, but I want to ask, in a situation where we'd have to wait
we have cleared the backlog at Noguchi.
No.
At KCCR, we have at KCCR 1,982 to finish.
Exactly. So what I'm referring to is actually the backlog at KCCR.
Okay.
In this situation where we'd have to wait for a longer time for the results of that backlog to come in, there are concerns that in our case, a lot of people are asymptomatic. If you have a potential positive case sample sitting at KCCR and this person is not isolated and treated, then we are likely to have a surge, in positive cases later. I don't want to know how we intend
So when we take a sample, do we give any advice or guidelines to ensure that that person is potentially positive? Exactly. It's not just mixing up with the general population.
My second question is, we've repeatedly talked about how science and data is going to drive the decisions that we make. I want to find out from the Presidential Advisor on Health that looking at the surge of cases that we have in the hotspots in the Greater Accra region, East region and Ashanti region, does the data and science back or call for stricter measures?
When you say stricter measures, it's a concept. What do you mean?
Maybe another lockdown in these hotspot areas.
I think I can quickly answer that one for you. The president announced it himself that if observations suggest that the preventive protocols are not being respected in a particular district, or there is a surge in a particular district, you recall his speech. He says lockdown and curfew in that particular district. So I think it's a matter that has been dealt with. Let's take the final one. And
my name is Yafre Kum. I work with Atinka TV. I want to speak in Twi. And probably if my questions will be answered in Twi, I would like it.
Okay.
Concerning the rate of death.
You are speaking English.
Rate of death now is what do you know that? So now you see you break down in Bumukakra. Now first now you say okay Emirapa na and Kokra and then to see how you see you say you cut you say Imranti and Kokra
the medicine I got there you bet to me provide Ihumu and answer you bet me am many party say Oma Ewu no say man na member penny na kwala na say sa wha emrepam no obetumi dey ato abonten man hu e bia ne uni wa ha say but yade a pam no obetumi dey ato abonten na mboa.
And now say foreign nationals so can be okay. And now the church also say strong echo. You see who say you can say abo akaten say emu bi enim anaasɛ ɛte sɛ
ehu bi anim anaasɛ dɛ
sɛ ehu bi anim yɛda yɛnda
ɛbi woda ɛna bɔn ho ban ɛno ne nkɔmmɔ anɔpɛ yɛdi asɛ bɔn ho ban. Colleagues, let me invite you. We have run out of time already, so as quickly as possible, provide answers. Dr. Nsiasare, you first. I'll go to Dr. Boaji, Dr. Bediso Akol, and Prof. Also, be a born home by. The message they will be answered, and they may go Kuemono. This over home by a bra, now, the important thing is fire and comma. Umami, anaso papa, anaso nana, obi ofi, anaso unye bia, oyare ofi. Tina so da no ukatu ani ba kuno bi ba ko. Na ohwe so obi bo mark na waka kire no. So bi twem no ahohoro ne nsa na waka kire no. Da na yi ya bompa ya magana. The second one is about the disposal of, especially disposable face masks. In fact, something which worries some of us. We spoke to them when they were doing the protocols and then the guideline, because you see any mask that anybody wears is a potential infected, that let's take it as potential infected material. So we should not behave like we behave with polythene bags, and this is something that we have to work on a country. That's why we've been preaching that when you finish using the mask, it's better you put it in something and then tie it, and if possible, until the time that we get a place where we can take all the masks and go and be incinerated. You can also do a small incineration in your house or dig a pit and put it in and cover it. Don't allow your children at home to be playing with the mask. So that's the message I'll give you. And as we said, the science and data, Honorable Minister has answered it. We will allow science data to follow us anywhere we go. So areas where I've seen, for example, if you look at Eastern region, when we saw at the camp, there was a problem. We sent people there, and they are doing massive contact tracing. We've now seen also another one at Western North. There are people there doing contact tracing and taking the samples and testing. And the most important thing is that immediately we also try to isolate. The testing and isolation is very, very important. You isolate them from the community, and then when you do that, you are chasing. Not that you are chasing the virus. You want to take the lead of the virus so that you don't spread it on the street. Thank you. Thank you. Dr.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Maybe I miss American Kakra. So that name since I show who see say a human no numbers no cost free say. Ya kɔhwehwɛ nipa na ɔmo bi ne sɛ baabi yi ma free system no mu ebi ɛni kwan sɛ bo hu pi na emum ɛwɔ sɛ obiara yɛ nea ɔsɛ bɛyɛ sɛ bɛyɛ a wa wo bibiara no ɔmfa nyɛ obi ti ɛni kwan sɛ numbers no ehunu hwan pi stigmatization under our healthcare system you don't just mention names of people. This is still remains a healthcare even though it's a pandemic, so we're not going to share names of people, but the minister said anybody who wants to declare himself, just like someone offered to do video on our behalf, we will use them. But currently, we are working very much to destigmatize this issue, and it's something that we all want to know. You also asked a question about, you saw a map that's to concentrate on Ghana East. But if you're looking at the district, Ghana, it's not one of the places where you have a lot of. There's a treatment center there, but that's not where samples are taken. It's recorded based on where samples are taken. People were zooming to see people's homes. That's why we had to work on the map so that people don't see which home the GPS coordinate is coming from. So if you may see it concentrated around it, doesn't really mean that that is the place where the sample testing protocol has been answered, and I think those are all that can also add.
Colleagues, this is what time will ask for today. Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Thursday morning at 9 a.m. we would go live with the latest updates as we have it, which means we will get here before 9 a.m. like we did today, and then we'll go live. I wish I could say thank you in language. It's like this. Okay, so thank you to you all. Thank you.
So there you have it. We've heard from the Information Minister. We've also heard from the Health Minister. We've heard from doctors of the Health Ministry as well as the FDA. And the guidelines on face masks, again, they talked to us about it. FDA has actually approved of certain face masks that you should wear. So as you're going out, it's important to ask whoever is selling you the face mask if they have approval from the FDA as well as the Ghana Standards Authority. They have all of that stuff on their website. They've also talked about the importance of wearing a face mask. And I like what the Health Minister said. He said wherever 2 or 3 people gather, there should be a face mask. It's really important. The Information Minister has also thrown some light on the numbers that we're seeing. And if you go onto the Ghana Health Service website, they actually break it down for you so you have a bigger appreciation for the sample size of tests we've done so far and why our numbers are where they are right now.
You actually mentioned the approved. The FDA said they approved about 40 companies. You know. COVID-19, but also for the stimulation of our own local productive capacity. I think it's a very important thing. The aspect of personal preventive etiquette, I think, is very critical. That's something that the Minister of Information mentioned over and over again. Personal preventative etiquette. You should have in mind a series of protocols that you are using to protect yourself. Okay, and it's something that all of us need to do. So mask wearing is one of them. Okay, mask wearing is one of them, and I think it's very important. Hand washing, mask wearing, social distancing, these things are part of the etiquette. Okay, and all of us need to develop this and teach others as well. Okay, we're going to ramp up a lot of education. As you know, the minister is saying that this week we're going into compulsory wearing of masks in all public spaces and so on and so forth. So I think it's a very important stage we've reached. The minister was also suggesting, not the minister, I think it was
is it Dr. Abuaje?
In CSR, that we are reaching the peak of our curve now. You know, so
there's the health advisors.
Yes, you know, so where we've reached now, I think it's very critical that all the measures that we're putting in place, we make sure that we enforce. We let's ride through the storm. We're at that critical point now. We want to see our curve coming down, and these are the things that we need to do. All right, I think that for me, that's one of my biggest takeaways from there.
Yeah, and I was also relieved to hear that we're almost done with the backlog of samples that we're testing, right? Because a lot of people have been asking questions, where are these positive results coming from? Are they new cases? Are they not? They also talked to us extensively about the importance of staying safe. So in your workplace, Dr. Abuaje walked us through what you should be doing in your home, so you should do in your workplace when you step out. Drivers making sure they have on their mask, passengers making sure they have on their mask as well. And the Information Minister said, as far as closing the borders, the government has done that. Restriction of movement, they've done that. So it is up to us now to ensure that we're safe. And I like what the Health Minister said, that we shouldn't let our health workers work in vain by putting ourselves at risk. So every time you're tempted to act recklessly in a way, think of all the health workers who are sacrificing their lives to ensure that we're safe. If we have the dashboard, we can go over to the Ghana Health Service website, GhanaHealthService.org/COVID-19, and walk you through exactly how we did it. But if you go into the website and you click on updates, you would actually see all the numbers there. So as you have them on your screens
you can see,
right now,
you can see the figures are there. The total numbers of recovered and discharged, you've separated them into different categories. So you look at recovered and discharged is 294, and that's the upper chart over there. Then we have responding well to treatment in facilities or at home is 2,402. Critically and moderately ill, and this one was clarified by Dr. Isia Ansari that it's actually we don't have any critically ill people. It's only moderately ill people, and so there's nobody on ventilators there. That's 5. and then those who have passed on are 18, and that gives our total case count to 2,719.
Definitely. And when you go down below table 2, it says positivity rate by surveillance type for persons tested in Ghana. So this is from March to May 2020. Okay, so when you look at the routine surveillance, we've actually tested over 30,000 people, or we have over 30,000 samples taken. Of that 30,000, 919 came out positive, so just about 3%, which is really good compared to other countries. And then when you look at the contact tracing, the contact tracing are of the people, like someone is positive, they mention the people they've been around, and then we follow those people to test them as well. We are at almost 100,000, so 98,622 samples have been tested, and of that, the positives are 1,685, and the positivity rate of that is just 1.71%. So that's also not that bad at all. And then when you go to the mandatory quarantine group, those were the travelers as well as the 11 people who came in the north. That number now came up to 1,041. Total positive 115. That one is a little higher, but overall we're doing good. Government is doing its part by keeping our borders closed. They're also trying by ensuring that we restrict movement into some places. So it's up to all of us to ensure that we are protected, and then we'll get through this.
Fantastic. What excites me more than anything else, the number is not there, but the figure is about 0.6, which is the death rate. So you see that death rate is really, really low. And relative to the rest of the countries on the continent, we're doing superbly there. So, well, thank you for watching this extended version of Breakfast Daily. My name is David Pepusichi.
And I am Jifa Ikeramata. A big happy birthday to our producer, Duke Menso Poku, who is at the Ministry of Information right now. We love you so much, and we hope you enjoy your day. But thank you guys so much for being with us. Enjoy your day and stay safe.
Take care.